What are we waiting for? So. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the council meeting for the 20th of August. Please join me in standing for the opening karakia. Right, thank you very much. Right, I have an apology for Councillor Goff for absence and Councillor Johansson for lateness and Councillor Henstock for early departure, and just noting that Tyrone is on Zoom. Can I have a movement and second? I'm happy to move it. Mark's happy to second it. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That's carried. If anyone has any declarations of interest today, let us know. If you think you are going down the track, let us know when that happens. We have no public forum or petitions today. So we'll start with deputations. We have Vicar Mark Sullivan, who is here to speak about item 12, the Heathcote Express Major Cycleway, detailed traffic resolutions at Truscott Road. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Won't keep you too long.
Yeah, you guys will be here anyway.
Very short.
Sorry, Kira. Yep.
So you're just waiting for the thing to change.
The clicker's not working. Guys, we might
Go then, please.
need them done.
First of all, I thought I'd just start with some facts. The Anglican Church has been present on the site since 1902. The hall was constructed and used by the parish as a community facility and the vicar's office. In 1927, the 1927, the church was moved from Bridlepath Road to its current site. So we've been there in that position for 98 years. Well, the church has, but the presence has been there for over 100 years. The church is the oldest building in the Heathcote Valley, and it's the premises that's been used continually for 165 years. Currently, it's used every day. There are 15 community groups using the facility. The Heathcote group is the second largest besides the church, and they use the hall 5 times a week with their mats and everything, and that they have membership of children 5 years and up. The church has its office there. It's used daily, and the church is also used for weddings, funerals, and other things throughout the year. When the council officers discussed with us the proposed cycleway past the church and the changes that was going to be made to the curb and channelling, I'm not sure that we fully understood that that would mean that all that parking would be cut off along Truscott Road. One car park has been left outside the church for funeral parking, but along Truscott Road on the church frontage, it's been reduced to parks 50 metres from our facility. Parking along Martindale Road is significantly reduced to 2 or 3 parks. That's the other street frontage. We met with the council staff on 2 occasions to discuss the parking situation, and the reply is that the altered cycleway and subsequent roading makes the parking more hazardous, hence why they've put in the lines. Nobody's appreciated the extent of time and the number of people that actually use the church throughout the week. That means considerable walking to use the venue, and while Sunday it's happening there. As I say, the church is actually used more than Sundays. So the recommendations, we'd like the curbing on the south end of Martindale's and Truscott Road has been altered, and that narrows the entrance to Truscott Road from Martindale's Road. So our suggestion is that that because the carriageway is actually reduced by 1 vehicle width, that cars can park along there without impacting upon the road service at all. Cyclists come round there, they don't automatically come round and go straight against the curb. They just carry on down, and because of the altered curb and channeling, which as I say is one car width, we'd like the yellow lines on the opposite side of the road from the church, that's along the railway, actually removed, so that we can park there and have access to the church. The best solution for us would be to have all the yellow lines outside the church and the other side of Truscott Road removed. But you know, we think that's fair that there are yellow lines along one side, and we think there is adequate protection for the vehicles that would park along there due to the altered curb and channeling. So the removal of the yellow lines on the opposite side of the road, as far as we're concerned, is a fair and equitable solution, meets us halfway with you folk. So we respectfully request that you give this matter your meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. Have we got any questions of Mark?
None for me.
Would you be happy if we left this item on the table and asked our staff to have further discussion with you on this?
Absolutely. One thing I would ask is that if we are going to leave it on the table, that not sort of put on traffic parking wardens going along and giving people tickets that are using that area, especially on the other side of the road. The reason being, we have a lot of elderly people that actually use that facility, and there was some disappointment that tickets were given to people that are using the hall. But as I say, the yellow marks were there, and people disobey them. I suppose that's at their own peril. But if you give it some consideration, that'd be really cool. How long it takes, well, leave that over to you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for
The bus stop get changed back on Martindales.
Well,
Did it get shifted in the end?
the bus stop was actually moved right outside the church, and then was moved forward.
We did shift it back. We did move it,
It
didn't we?
did move forward,
Yeah.
but the buses stopped where the old one was because it's not clearly defined on the road. At all.
We need to fix that.
Well, I think that you've done your part as far as moving. I think it's more the bus drivers actually stopping the bus stop. Yeah, the bus stop was moved from its original position to outside the church, and we spoke to Councillor Templeton, and she had it moved for us back to its original position. There still is only two or three car parks there outside the church anyway. Of course, the other thing is for the council to move in and put a new car park in for us on our premises. Which would be
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, we now have Reverend Richard Waller to talk to us about item 5, the National Erebus Memorial. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Philip Major, councillors, thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm Richard Moore. I'm an airline historian and a long-time aviation chaplain since 1998, and current president of the Aviation Historical Society of New Zealand, which was founded here in Christchurch in 1958. I spent a number of years initiating memorials for airliner accidents in New Zealand. There were 9 airliner accidents from 1938 on scheduled services, 1938 to 1963, Kamai accident, 73 New Zealanders were killed. So myself and others spent a long time working on those. Out of that came the obvious question, why wasn't there an Erebus National Memorial where the 257 names could be in a public place? So I commenced and instigated the memorial project from January 2016. It's only 10 years ago, this coming January. And we thought, in fact, that gave 4 years to the 40th anniversary in 2019. So I spent the first 2 years advocating to members of parliament and the government until the project was finally accepted by the government, budget approved, and for what is still New Zealand's worst civil disaster. I've worked closely with the Ministry of Culture and Heritage, including on all the Auckland sites, and I could write a book about the Auckland sites and what's happened there. It seems to me, after lengthy investigations, that there are no suitable sites available in Auckland. And assuming that's the case, then Christchurch, to my mind, is an appropriate venue for many reasons, including, of course, Christchurch is the gateway for Antarctica, and that the city has an Antarctica consciousness and profile like no other New Zealand city. As you know, flight TE 901 was due to land here on its return from Antarctica. 53 passengers were due to disembark at Christchurch International Airport. And it was at Christchurch Airport that waiting relatives and friends were told of the overdue DC-10. I have three particular relevant matters which you may not be aware of that I want to share. One is that Auckland does have the memorial at the airport to the 20 crew who are all Auckland based, and the memorial at Waikomete Cemetery. I was in West Auckland for many years. The memorial at Waikomete Cemetery is to the 44 victims whose remains were not identified or not recovered from Antarctica. First. Second, the Lockheed Orion and the Hercules aircraft, both now preserved at the Air Force Museum, were aircraft types used in the search and the recovery work for the Mount Erebus accident. The Hercules 01 was one of the aircraft used for body return to Whenuapai. In fact, the route was Whenuapai, Christchurch, McMurdo, Whenuapai. So the eventual public display of these two very large aircraft, and Council's been very supportive of that, I think will provide another tangible link, local link, to the accident, and especially those in operation overdue. My third point is that the DC-10, after leaving Auckland, followed waypoints over New Plymouth and Nelson, and then to the radio beacon at Mount Mary, just to the east of Lake Pukaki. And the flight from Nelson would have taken the DC-10 to the west of Christchurch, near the Alps, and I understand it would have been possible for the aircraft to have been seen in the distance from the Kashmir Hills, and not long before it left New Zealand for the last time. So I commend the Council's willingness and welcome. The nature of the welcome is very important for the Erebus family members, for the memorial to be in Christchurch. And speaking from a pastoral perspective, I know many members, the sooner the memorial can be built, the better. And many of those family members directly affected, of course, are getting older. So there's an increasing pastoral urgency. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Got a couple of questions. Tyler and Sharon.
Kia ora. Thank you so much for coming in. I just wanted to hone in a bit on the tangibility of the location. I'm sort of in the dark around why Auckland wasn't an appropriate place for the memorial. Would you be able to?
Well, Auckland was the first priority for memorial. Understanding with the ministry, as others can speak more in more detail than me, but about 36 sites have been investigated, including with some protest action by some. So it's become very difficult. I also understand the Mayor in Auckland and the Council are not supportive.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
And Sarah, and a lot of this will be explained by Duncan in the.
Yeah. So we've had some concerns expressed by some members of the families who are concerned that if we go ahead off the site, that it will give Auckland the excuse to say no, and that they'd prefer us to say no to put more pressure on Auckland, if that makes sense. How do you see that kind of thing playing out? Like,
Sounds like local body politics to me.
because you know, we've learned over the years here in Christchurch that actually working with the families is crucial for those kind of.
Well, my understanding from the media is you have heard from some family members. The Erebus family group is a very large group, so 257 victims. You can imagine it's like a pyramid. There are thousands of people. There are Erebus people. Some of them are very articulate, and some I understand who have contacted each of you were part of the group that protested at Parnell.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is difficult. I don't want to diminish anyone's. We have a national memorial here for the youth play. a large number of families involved. So those are things that
You can ask your question when Duncan gets up to do his, please.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you very much, Richard, for coming in and.
Thank you, Richard.
So just before Duncan gets up to talk about that, I'll just let everyone know that I bought items 7 and 8 straight, the development contributions papers straight after the Erebus one. So far away, please, Duncan.
Mayor, councillors, good morning. Here to present a report recommending that council offers Craycroft Reserve to the Ministry of Culture and Heritage as a potential site for the National Erebus Memorial. First of all, I'd like to introduce the team who has been working on this. First of all, there's Cecile Delarue, there's Tessa, and who you'll both who you know, but someone who you won't know is Jeff Gibson from the Ministry of Culture and Heritage. We also work closely with Whiti Ora, who have sent their apologies to be unable to be with us in the group today. It's important to begin by acknowledging that many Erebus families continue to hold a strong preference for the memorial to be in Auckland. That is where the original commitment was made, and that desire remains clearly understood and respected by us. However, due to prolonged delays in securing a viable site in Auckland, MCH has been exploring alternative locations. Christchurch, with its strong Antarctic connections and culture of remembrance, offers a meaningful and respectful option. The offer we are proposing today is not intended to replace Auckland, but rather to provide the ministry and families with a viable alternative should Auckland prove no longer feasible. It is an offer made with care and respect, and it's one that reflects our city's commitment to honouring the memory of those who were lost and to welcoming Erebus families with dignity and compassion. The project team considered 3 strategic options for supporting the ministry in identifying a suitable location for the memorial. First one being offering a single site, which in this case is Craycroft Reserve, to provide clarity and focus to the ministry, the families and the wider community. Secondly, it was offering 2 sites. This approach would allow greater flexibility, but would introduce additional complexity and potential delays. And then finally, there was not offering a site at all. This option was ruled out as inconsistent with the council's values and commitment to supporting a nationally significant project. Through a robust assessment process involving council, mana whenua, the ministry, 3 sites in Christchurch emerged as the strong candidates for the memorial. Craycroft Reserve in Cashmere, a tranquil, elevated site with expansive views across the city and towards the Southern Alps. It offers strong experiential and cultural qualities and is well suited to both quiet reflection and ceremonial gatherings. Visiting the site makes its suitability for the memorial immediately apparent. Craycroft Reserve is recommended as preferred site due to its character, amenity, accessibility and support from mana whenua. Secondly, there is the Otakaro Avon Riverbank in the central city. Located in the heart of Christchurch near existing memorials, this site offers high visibility and accessibility, as well as a link to Antarctic heritage. However, it presents greater planning complexity due to heritage sensitivities, flood risk, and the potential for adjacent future development. And finally, there is the St James Church grounds in Harewood. This is a privately owned site with potential but requiring further investigation. While included in the assessment, it is not recommended at this stage due to uncertainties around ownership and access. I'd like to circle back to the families. As you can see in the report and indeed in media stories, there are a range of views on where the memorial should be located. Many of you will have received correspondence from family of an Erebus victim expressing deep concern about the potential offer of Craycroft as a site for the memorial. This email is heartfelt and reflects the enduring pain and frustration that many families feel after decades of delay and continued disappointment. It's important that we recognise the emotional gravity of this issue. The Erebus tragedy, as we have heard, remains New Zealand's most significant peacetime disaster. The absence of a national memorial for nearly 46 years is understandably distressing for those affected and clearly unacceptable. The concerns raised, particularly around perceived disconnect between the preferences of families and our recommendation of Craycroft, deserves thoughtful reflection. However, I want to reassure you that our approach has been guided by a commitment to transparency and respect. The report provided to you includes the results of the family survey, ensuring that the voices of those most impacted are heard and considered. It also sets out the advantages and disadvantages of both Craycroft and the Avon River site, allowing you to weigh all the relevant factors, including site suitability, accessibility, and alignment with the ministry's requirements. While Craycroft has been recommended, this is not a final decision. The offer is structured to remain open for 12 months, giving MCH time to continue to engage with families and work for their concerns. This flexibility is a deliberate and respectful gesture to ensure that families are not excluded from the process. Ultimately, our role is to offer a site, not to decide whether or where a site whether or where a memorial will be built. That responsibility rests with the ministry in consultation with the families. What we can do is ensure that our offer is made in good faith, with compassion, and with a clear understanding of the complexities involved. Regardless of the ultimate location of the memorial, it is our strong desire that each and every family member and member of the Operation Overdue team will always be welcomed here in Otatahi. I welcome your questions and discussions on the proposal and look forward to your guidance on how we can best support this nationally significant memorial.
Thank you, Duncan. That's very clear, and I'd just like to thank Duncan and the team for all the work you've done with the ministry and to get this very sensitive issue worked on. So I'm more than happy to move this, and Tim is more than happy to second it. So we'll put it out for any questions, and the first one I have is Aaron.
I was going to signal happy to move as well, so just supporting you.
No?
So I've got three questions. First one is, as a city, do we typically consult the general public of Christchurch about memorials, like for example, the one for the earthquakes on the river?
Yeah, just in terms of Oi Manawa, the memorial, that one process was similar to this. A report was brought to council. And the site was identified and the process followed. It wasn't full consultation for that site. There was the recovery context at that time as well.
So was it a process with the families involved?
Yeah, a comprehensive process with families, and similar to this, there was a process followed for site selection. So the criteria were identified with the families, as it's been done in this case, and then a range of suitable sites identified. And that one was then selected and identified to be developed. The key thing is the targeted engagement, which in this case has been initiated with the site.
So sorry, I've got a secondary question from that, because if you, in the report, it talks about public opposition to some of the sites that have been in Auckland. So has that come through a process of consultation that Auckland Council's done, or is that just something that's happened as a result of this being known by the public?
It's a bit difficult for us to answer the details of that, so we'll just do it to you.
So forward. Morning, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity. It's a complex answer to your question in some ways, because there was, going back over a period of years, quite a lot of consultation in different forms. But of course, you only when you get to a point of knowing a specific site that some stakeholders come forward that perhaps weren't aware or didn't perhaps have a stronger views until it was potentially going to happen within the vicinity of their space of interest.
Second question is with the families and that want to see this in Auckland. Is that, do they accept that there are no, we're being told that there's no viable sites in Auckland and the Auckland Council is saying that they can't find anything. Are the families who want it in Auckland, do they agree with those or do they have, I just don't quite understand. I mean, I know we're doing an open sort of offer. I just want to understand a bit more why they don't want it here and they must see some sites up in Auckland that are viable.
Well, as you can see from the amount of work that's been involved even to get to this point of identifying sites and doing all the checks and things that are necessary, and that's everything from cultural it's about a particular site or right through to technical consideration. So there are a lot of complexities around identifying any site. But I think stepping back from that, as I think was noted in the report, we've looked since the original site, which we had to withdraw from, which is DMR, Dunmire Robinson Park in Auckland. We've looked at approximately 50 different sites in Auckland since then. 37 we looked at in some detail, and we couldn't make sufficient progress on some of those, so we expanded our search again, at the point at which we also then started conversations about was Christchurch a viable option. Auckland is a very complex authorising environment, let alone engagement with communities. So because of the layers of governance that exist in Auckland, you have Central Auckland Council, of course you have a number of local boards, there are a number of iwi who have interests right across that area. So, there are a lot of conversations before you even get to a point of potentially going to a public consultation, if that's required as well.
Sorry, I've got to follow on from that. So we talked with iwi here.
Yes, yeah.
Right, and then the last one, I just I think it does make sense to offer probably the two most popular sites if we're going to do an open offer to those families and for ministry to work through. It would make sense to make it as many viable options that seem, supported as possible in my view. Any comments?
Well, as I said in my preliminary is that is an option.
Yeah.
Offering to, there's definitely a viable option, but it does add a level of complexity for the ministry to then navigate that with families, as opposed to one which provides a greater degree of certainty that this is a site that has been clearly identified and been through a process.
Mark, please.
Thank you. We heard from this earlier speaker about the fact that Oberon, whose currently resides at the Air Force Museum, was used with the recovery. Was there any consideration given to perhaps having a contemplated space that the National Memorial built at the Air Force Museum?
Yeah, 100%. It is that was definitely what was investigated by the team, and there are many good reasons why it could be there, such as you've spoken about and what Richard said earlier. But one of the key criteria for the memorial is for it to have its own meaning, and for it to be, if it was located at the Air Force Museum out of Wigram, there was concerns that it would struggle to establish its own identity in an Air Force Museum construct. And secondly, similar to the issues that happened with the suggestion that the memorial will be at Pukeahu, that is the National War Memorial, and we're talking here about the worst civil disaster versus the worst military disaster.
And I guess I was speaking to Brett Marshall yesterday, and he is more than happy to host any of the families at any time.
That's great. Thank you, Mark.
Sarah, please.
Thanks so much. Just going back a little bit to that engagement with the families over these sites, and wondering about the shortness of the length of time of 9 days, when I know how much longer the process was for example, Waimanawa. And I'm just wondering if there was the opportunity to spend some more time with the families, actually get people down here to have a look at the site ahead of a decision being made. It seemed like that was a very short time after a lot of other work had been done.
Councillor Templeton, if I can just talk on the first part of that, and I'll let Jeff speak on the second part of it, is he loud and clear on that. The reason why the delay or why the time has been compressed is that we wanted to bring this to this council. This council has been on the journey with us of identifying a site and the rationale of why we wanted to offer a site from the briefings that we've had, and due to the support that was indicated to me in those briefings, that is why we wanted to bring it to this council in this term. So that's why that was truncated. We believe, that's the council team believe and agree with you, that more time needs to be given to the families to be able to look at this. Hence the reason why we are recommending a 12-month period for that to happen. But I'll throw it to Jeff from the ministry's perspective, who actually owns the relationship with the families.
Yes, so just a couple of comments about that shortest time. Yes, that was part of it, to make sure we got as much information as we could to get a picture of all the technical side of those sites as much as the feedback of families. Was that a short period of time relative to the previous one? Yes, it was. What I would say is that for the reason we were able to allow a longer period in the survey of the relating to the 12 Auckland one site in Auckland was we held open over Christmas, and we were able to provide people with more time. But what we did do, whilst we did allow for the 9 days, we also ensure that people who potentially struggle with that time frame, we made the offer to talk to us, and that we would accommodate any views that they wanted to have as well.
Okay, and the question for you again is, why would 2 sites not be preferable if you're going to engage with the families more? If we offered the 2 sites, so Craycroft and the Avon River, then it would give the families chance to look at both of them, knowing that both had an offer from the council, and giving the families more time rather than coming down here and seeing one to sort of make up for that other. How would that be?
From a technical, it's not our report.
No, but Duncan did say that, you know, it would make it easier for you if there was only one. I'm just thinking about the families and giving them the opportunity to look at multiple sites.
Based on the experience we've had, particularly in Auckland, obviously, it sometimes is better to have more than one site, because there are various things that can occur, not just as consultation happens or other technical things that get thrown up. So my personal view, and that's all it is, so apologies for that, is that it is better to have more options in a broad sense. Now, whether that's the case here, I guess that's for...
In that case, I'd like to foreshadow a motion that we offer both Craycroft and the Avon River sites.
I'll second that.
Thanks.
Yeah, just that.
Okay, right, sorry, Tyler, please.
I'm not sure good.
Thank you very much. Thank you for, I understand the complexities around site selection. We've spent some time on that, and thank you for taking some time to try and explain that to us. But I'm going to ask a really direct question, because I'm still trying to get my head around some of the stakeholder concerns in Auckland. So was there an element of not in my backyard from stakeholders in Auckland? And are we seeing that here in Christchurch as well? Because no one's mentioned that. I'm still struggling to understand some of the stakeholder concerns. You've talked about the governance aspects of that, but what else was that we're missing here?
I can't talk about Auckland. Jeff might be able to make some comments on that, but from our preliminary targeted engagement, especially around Craycroft, it has been extremely welcome. The initial conversations that we have had with the Friends of Craycroft couldn't have gone any better. The chair and members have been extremely supportive. Yes, I don't know if you've got any more comments you want to make on that.
I think to be fair on Auckland at this point, we had the benefit of perhaps being able to learn from previous, I don't want to say mistakes, but just learn lessons. And we were able to engage those most affected community members really early. So before any decisions had been made. And I think that came across as a very genuine approach. And I think in Auckland, potentially that wasn't an opportunity that they had. Yeah.
Thank you. Duncan, I know you've been living and breathing this for some time. Is there anything in particular about the Craycroft Reserve that puts this over and above Avon River for you?
So that's a good question. My suggestion, my initial suggestion for a site location was the Avon Riverbank. And I'd never heard of the Craycroft Reserve. I thought it was somewhere down the bottom of the hill, and found out that it was actually in front of the site of the Taikahe. So I went up there, and it's almost a revelation as you walk up and you see it. It's like, oh my goodness, this is where the memorial should be. It just had that sense. It spoke to me. And I think I can speak for colleagues that it had a similar effect. So that is what, along with the other points that we've talked about the some of the uncertainty from a heritage perspective of the Avon River site and future development around there, what gave Craycroft the edge for me personally, and I think spoke to the wider assessment team.
So am I hearing that it's something that you feel rather than you can put in writing?
It's hard to, I was accused of being patronising to families and how it was described, but that was not the intention. It really is quite a revelation when you get there and you look.
So the final question, recognising that this is just an offer, and it's been suggested in the earlier questions that by making the offer, it takes the pressure off Auckland and they'll no longer work hard to find a site. Is it possible that the reverse could also be true? That we've got one on the table that could be ready for the families, and it will put further pressure on them to work through their differences and find a site.
I think that's potentially true. It could go either way, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jack, please.
So the opposition in Auckland, do you think it's fair to characterise it as not enough support for a particular site? Or limited support for a particular site?
Do with a particular site.
Sure. So it's not that the Auckland Council per se don't want the Erebus Memorial in their city. It just can't work through the detail.
And just to be clear, so the previous process by which a number of sites were identified in Auckland led to, so there was active involvement from the central part of council, if I can put it that way. When we went back to them to talk about having to restart the process, they were just in the process. I live in Auckland, so includes me. We're in the process of having to deal with the aftermath of the cyclones and the devastation they caused, and they simply didn't have the time or capacity to make the role. So we took that lead with some external help, and did some of those sites with council because, of course, most of them are in public spaces.
Thank you. Second question is, did I hear you correctly say that you had 50 and then now currently you've still got 37 potential sites?
No, sorry, that was not explaining myself well. So we went through a formal process where we identified 37 sites and went through a similar, as you could have seen evidence of here. But because we weren't making any progress, or if they got a smaller number, various things came up and decision makers or landowners or others didn't feel as though they could support it. So we expanded that to include more sites that we could find have been suggested to us in Auckland, but we've not been able to land any of those. Hence us having to think about, well, if we can't find somewhere, and particularly given the timeframes that we're concerned about in terms of families and Operation Overdue members, we felt it was appropriate to at least have a conversation about Christchurch.
Thank you. Probably a final question, although there may be four to be is consultation from here is, if we say yes today, put the offer or offers, what happens in terms of consulting our public? I'm just cognizant we haven't had a conversation with our ratepayers and citizens yet.
So from today, if you were to decide on those two sites, particularly around the Craycroft Reserve, which is in a residential area, I would continue to slowly work my way around the community. I'm taking a really hands-on approach to this one. I think that the personal approach is required because of the gravity of what you're deciding on. So yeah, I would continue to do that. And then any future decision that lies with MCH about building an actual memorial, at that time we'll assess what further consultation is required from our internal policies, consenting requirements and legislation.
Okay. I guess that leads to the fourth question is, could we end up in a situation exactly like Auckland? What is different about what we're proposing to do to what they have done before again and again?
The preliminary conversations that we have had are far more positive.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say our focus has been on finding champions within the community so that they become, in a way, the spokespeople for the welcoming this memorial into their community, which I think would be much more powerful.
Thank you. Thank you, Tessa. I'm real keen to move this on. We have one more, there's only one more question that I'll allow, and that's Sarah. Sarah, you're up. That's right. And then we'll go into debate if we want to.
I was just like a process thing, just whether it was easier to, rather than doing it as a foreshadowed motion, which would mean a vote would have to fail, to just add those words in as an amendment, as we vote on it as an amendment. Then if that fails, it's just down to the one. So we're never voting against potentially.
Sorry?
The second to consider putting two options, and that would be even easier.
And just by process wise, rather than a foreshadowed, whether we're able to do it as an amendment, like process wise.
From a team that have done all the work and done all their consultation is one side. That's your recommendation.
No, we've got something on the table, don't we?
Yes, yes, we do.
Based on the new information that we've had today from the deputation and from the representative from the ministry, is that more options would actually be better, and that the families.
See, I think
Just now.
you said more options would be better.
Just now.
The ministry.
Clarify, so, and we're trying to remain a good objective public servant. Our experience has been I was trying to make it a broad point, not specific to here, which is that because there are various things that can occur on the site, even if it's identified as being a front run, let's say, that can cause it not to be able to proceed. So my experience thus far has been it's sometimes better to have more options than not.
My concern is also because the families haven't had a chance to compare sites and see the revelation that Duncan had. That with the opportunity to check out both and then come to their own decision about Craycroft hasn't been possible because it's just been that short 9 days.
I don't want to be difficult, but I'm wondering whether this needs our organisation and the ministry, because I heard earlier on the ministry say, my personal view is that more sites would be better, which is different to the advice we've got. I actually think we just need to probably park it for a bit and come back because it's.
So people come to the table.
I'm just.
One second.
Can I just clarify? That was just my personal view.
Which I guess what I'm saying is that's.
The organisational position is aligned with.
Yeah. So probably just because I'm just unclear as to what's being offered from the government versus the organisation. I think.
If I could clarify that for you, Councillor McDonald. We are offering a site. It may be that you decide it's two sites. As I said in answer to Councillor Templeton's question, both are viable options. But we have to put forward a recommended course of action. And our recommended one is a single site. If you decide that it's two sites, that is a viable course of action from staff's perspective.
Nothing to us.
Okay, we'll do debate.
Yeah, no, yes, so. do you want to change
Take it
your,
back.
At the moment, I have to say I'm reluctant to do two, but I'll be open to the table to make it smooth, so.
But there's nothing stopping Sarah from having an amendment, is there? Like procedurally?
Just doesn't.
So why don't you just put it forward as an amendment?
It's nice to be able to.
yeah. So we
Doesn't set a good precedent for the process.
let's do the procedural thing. The seconder have been asked if they're happy to amend their motion. Phil has said he is, and Tim has said he is.
Reluctantly,
No, we just put it forward as two, so everything vanishes, okay?
Yep.
Right, so your questions,
Process on this process that we're going through, because the three are still in the report. My question would be, and it is to Duncan, although you're putting one forward, if something comes up along the way, are the other two then still in the mix? Because they're all in the report.
not worry.
We have to have a new council decision.
That's right. We'd have to come back to you for your.
Right, we've done enough questions for into debate, and the first one is Tim.
Thank you. As the councillor for the Cashmere area where Craycroft Reserve is in, I've been talking to a number of community members who have rung and talked to me about concerns. There were never any concerns about the support for it. It was about its ability to connect with the local community when it's being designed, and they wanted to support the families because they think the majority have felt that it has been almost disrespectful to the families, the process and to each other, etc. So they wanted to make sure it was always welcoming, which is really important. I'm meeting on Friday with the chair of Friends of Craycroft, who is totally, and their organisation is absolutely in support of this. And they asked me to pass on to Tess, especially to thank her for what she's done with them. But truly, when you are standing at Craycroft Reserve and you are looking across Christchurch and you see Alps and you can name all of the peaks and you see the planes coming in, landing and taking off. And at night you can see them. I'm there most days. It's an absolute privilege. As Duncan said, it is a truly special place. It's a shame we didn't get up there, some of you, to see it and understand the difference between that and the other two areas that were put forward, because the connection is probably what the flight could have seen as it was passing Christchurch to the west, as Richard, that you see the city, you see the hills, you see all of that. There is a connection there, different to the other two sites. It's chalk and cheese for me. And it is truly wonderful to have that support from the community and from the Friends of Craycroft and from our community board when it was brought to us. So thank you. I'm totally in support of it. I would have preferred Craycroft as the only option, but I will open up and accept two. Thank you.
Thank you. Cal?
Yeah, look, I'm really happy to support this offer. You know, it seems like in a vacuum of indecision, you know, people with heart who care about this want to step up, and I really do want to commend Duncan and the team for the work that they've done. I've a bit of a personal connection as well. I was in school at the time of the Erebus tragedy, and my geography teacher, Mike Preble, was the leader of Scott Base at the time. And when he came back to school, he used to talk with great gravity about the situation. He was in the first helicopter onto the site and talked about the complexities and the whole tragedy, and really gave the boys at our school a real sense of what had happened and how tragic it was. So I think this is wonderful that we're offering to honour the memory of all those people. And, you know, I think it's difficult sometimes when there's too many choices. I mean, you see just what's gone on around here in discussing this and that, one site, two site, how difficult it is to get a lot of people to agree on something. So I'm glad we're moving this forward, and I'm very happy to support it.
Aaron?
Yeah, so I'm happy to support this based on conversations I've had with Duncan prior to this around this. You know, one of the offers was in Harewood. If the hill falls over, more than happy for it to come in there. That church have been looking for a use for that land.
It's across the road from a cenotaph, which has a dawn service every single year. So there's a lot of reflection in the area. It makes perfect sense, and you've got the walkway right there through to the airport. So there is a great connection out there. Christchurch has a fantastic connection to Antarctica. So happy to support what the staff have come up with based on what Duncan's told me. But if any issues pop up along the way, more than happy to revisit Harewood if need be.
I want to thank Duncan and staff for all your efforts. You came to the community board to talk to us about this, and we were, they were very happy to hear what you had to say, and very supportive of offering Craycroft Reserve. Like Tim said, it is incredibly beautiful. I used to live up there and used to walk up there quite often. It is an incredible site when you go to it. But I would really like to support the two sites. I'm pleased it's been added in, and that's for two reasons. One is because of what it's got in our paper about more people supporting the Avon site. I do think they should have, of those families, I think they should have the choice. I think if we're going to have an open offer, it just needs to be an offer that they can choose between, rather than saying, here's one site for you, take it or leave it. I think if we're going to be quite genuine about it, we'll let them come and take their time. So I'm happy to support this today.
Sarah?
At the heart of all this are the families and the victims of that tragedy. And I'd like to thank our staff in the ministry for doing a huge amount of work on that. The site selection, the offer staff. The only thing that I have any qualms about is that truncated time with the families, just 9 days. And it was done with best of intentions, but to fit a political time frame rather than with the family there. And so that's why I'm really keen for the families to be able to visit and to experience both of those sites along the river, up on the hill, to see that stunning view out across the Alps. And yeah, that was just my only reason there. It's just that truncated time with the families who need to do that. I really hope, for the family's sake, that having two genuine offers here actually does kick Auckland into gear. Because that is where the families would really like it. And I really hope that that's what happens, so that we are here if they need us.
Mark, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Duncan and team, for all your work on this. I know it's been done with the utmost respect for the families. And I think from all of us on the council here today, we're very respectfully coming up with this offer to hopefully become part of a solution, or at the very least, be the sand in the oyster that might get into action, actual outworking of it. I think it's great today that we've looked at the idea of offering up two sites that I think respects the families' desires and wishes. And I concur with Councillor Templeton that it would be great for the families of the victims to be able to come and experience for themselves the genuine, also, I'll throw into the mix that Brett Marshall, the director of the Air Force Museum, is personally happy to escort any of the families through to see the Hercules 01, which was part of that saga back in the day. So there are some genuine connections for Christchurch to be offering this up, and hopefully that's taken in the right lights by the families that we are just wanting to honour and respect.
Well, I mean, it's and I'm speaking to the contrary anyway. Look, I'm not going to support this today. I'm not across the line on it yet. I'm not going to vote against it. I'll abstain, and it's no indictment of the work that the team have done. I think it's actually remarkable that it's unnatural on the face of it. We're not the natural seeming home of this memorial, can garner so much support around the table and amongst the community as a testament to the wonderful work you guys have done. And as we move forward, I like to think that the next decision point, I can be more supportive. But At the moment, I'm just not, that I worry that that the Christchurch, the pride we have for the city is perhaps clouding our judgment when it comes to what is most appropriate. I'm also concerned that, exactly as Councillor Templeton mentioned before, that we're perhaps handing an opportunity for Auckland to not do their duty, essentially. But with considering the point that Victoria made, you know, perhaps it'll have the opposite effect and actually encourage them to do what they should do and have some courage. So, yeah, that's it from me today.
And me lastly, about 10 months ago, I suppose, Mary Duncan and I met with the ministry, and it was it was an offer of help because they were sort of going around in circles up in Auckland, and for one reason or another, it doesn't matter. And we just thought that if we can do any offer or any solution to make it better for the families. So I would have preferred, I've been to both places, I would have preferred, and I've looked at the disadvantages of in town, but to get this across the line to actually go ahead and offer 2 sites for Christchurch is, and we are happy with it. I know Duncan's team's done a lot of work with Mana Whenua on Craycroft, but not so much on the middle of town. So we've back to square one if it gets to that point. So I just hope the families like what we're offering and come down and spend as much time. And as Tim said, go up to Craycroft for a starter and see how nice and quiet it is. But to offer 2 is probably a good way through it. So I'll certainly be supporting it. So I'm going to put this motion, which is right behind me, which has got both of them on there. All of those in favour?
Aye.
Against? And Kate, you're abstaining. Okay, thank you very much. That's carried.
Thank you very much.
Right, now we'll do items 7 and 8, which is the DC policy. I've changed.
But there is a more suitable.
We're at everyone.
So doing 8 first and then 7.
No,
No, 7
changed.
7, 8 relies on 7.
And then it's actually site.
So there must have been the same thing. So it's just the same process. Someone doesn't like 36 sites.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, I think I'll compare it.
Hopefully that has been step forward, right?
They won't. I actually think arguably it's a bit of a.
He hasn't been getting enough sleep.
Well, you don't have kids.
Program.
Even now that mine are older, still worried. It's a curse.
So
They don't tell you that in the booklet when you're thinking about it.
Jake, which bit?
Take off the red t-shirt. Okay, and we'll not speed if you like.
It should be cool.
It's very, very small for everything.
Separate.
For sure.
Yeah. You've just been voted out.
Keep the text just outside like that.
What he is.
We're on, guys.
The
Seven.
Okay, right, welcome staff, Alan, David, to the table and talk to us about item 7.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll take the report as read. Just a few comments. Then we'll happy to take questions. As you know, the LGA requires that we have a policy on development contributions and review that policy every 3 years. This policy is overdue for review now. A reminder that DCs is a cost recovery tool for the growth component of projects that are already in the capital program. If we didn't charge DCs, the cost of growth infrastructure would be solely recovered through rates. Staff are comfortable with that the policy is fair, appropriate, and meets the requirements of the LGA. Ultimately, the draft policy is a return to normal in terms of the amount of the charges. The charges in the current policy are fairly low, and this is caused by the drop in the growth factor, as we've previously discussed. That primary cause has underpinned the current policy and the level of the charges in the current policy. The long-term growth projections that underpin the draft policy are more in line with the 2016 policy, which is a reflective of the city moving back towards a normal pattern of growth post-earthquakes. The draft charges reflect the council's actual cost to deliver growth infrastructure. Current developments are not paying this, which means ratepayers are subsidising growth. We therefore recommend the draft policy be adopted by the council today, and those recommendations are in front of you.
Right. Yep, Aaron, then Mel.
Kia ora. Could you give us a quick overview of the evidence basis in these changes, just for public knowledge? Looking to go back to the 2016 policy.
We're not looking to go back to the 2016 policy. We're looking to go back to charges that are more aligned with the 2016 policy. The difference between the 2016 and the 2021 policy is primarily caused by the growth rate that was used to underpin the 2021 policy. The growth rate when we're using it in the draft policy aligns better with the 2016 policy, which is why those charges are more closely aligned.
Great. And then there were arguments from a feasibility standpoint around potential of house prices going up through DCs going up inevitably. Would you be able to please, this is again for public knowledge, because they're sort of, they're not across development contributions. If you're not a developer, obviously normal households are going to wonder what's the cost to them. Would you be able to just quickly run through the pros and cons of the changes that we've actually been proposing with these DCs?
For growth, development contributions need to cover the cost of growth. If there's only really two places that you can cover these costs from, there's only two pools. It's either rates or it's development contributions. If we put it on to rates, we're just loading it on a capital cost for future generations and increasing the cost of rates. So the cost has to be paid somewhere.
Yeah. And lastly, just to be clear, the ratepayer essentially could be subsidising these infrastructure costs across time.
Yes.
Which includes future generations, as you've talked.
Yes.
Great. So on the other hand, you have the potential of house prices going up, which essentially could be a user pays model where a first home buyer or someone who buys into one of these developments actually may pay a little bit more now in terms of the house price. But again, it would offset future generational deficit.
Well, as I say, ultimately the cost of the infrastructure has to be covered from somewhere. Yep. It has to be paid.
That's great. No, that's cool. I'm just trying looking at the balance. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sam.
Yeah, I've got a motion I'd like to put up. So have people received the contribution policy report? notes the decision, agrees to the policy with the following amendments. So the first one would be the existing demand credits that expire 10 years after the previous development would be the first one. So that's in that the additional staff advice that came through.
Did you say 10?
Sorry, 10 to 20. Yeah, 10's in the policy, but up to 20. And then the pricing, I'd like to have it in as the current policy with an increase of 10% on what's in there now. So as at what the current DC charges are plus 10%.
Because we can only charge by activity. So you charge by activity and catchment.
Right.
So you the charges and the catchments don't align between the policies. So you can't take the 2016 charges and then add 10% because there'll be potentially certain catchments and activities that would be paying more under the 2021 policy than they would be under the 2025 policy.
Right.
So that's why the staff advice is to take the 2025 charges and then do something.
And
to
discount them.
to-
Yeah, we can back. Okay, so could we get the percentages to reduce them to the 20 there or thereabouts, 20 plus a 10% increase? So if we took the 25
It would be difficult, wouldn't it? Because it's a.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that, you do.
So what percentage would we need to, when we've got the 70, the 80 and the 90 and or the 80 and the 90 in the pack, what percentage do we need to do to get them there or thereabouts with where they are currently?
Depends. So in infill and CBD in suburban areas are between sort of 8 and 12. And then in some greenfield, depends, but with some greenfield areas, they go up to like 36, and then out in Banks Mitchell, they're 68. So there's a really wide range under the 2021 policy. So that is a bit of a difficult thing to say. How do you increase them to get?
So
how do you get them to get to where you were in 2021?
So what's the resolution I would need to get something to there or thereabouts plus a 10% increase on what they are now?
So if you wanted to do a cap, that would be within discretion as governors, but you would need to decide yourselves.
I guess what I'm saying is, can we cap it to particular, you take the CBD, for example, they've gone from 8 to whatever they're going up to. What's the mechanism that we can put to keep them there or thereabouts plus a 10% increase on where they are now?
You have to run some numbers, so we need a break. So why don't we carry on with questions?
Okay.
So we've got, we start and then have a break.
Yep.
Because there might be more questions that we need.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mary. I just have one more question. I'm just keen to tease it out. So I'm just jumping from the advice to this paper. Was around the capital program. So I know we've talked about this at length. I guess what I'm trying to understand is it talks about here how we have the provision of growth within the capital program, and it put the program at well over 6 billion for the next 10 years. And I know there's the portion that is behind, there's the historical charges, but there's the future stuff as well. I'm still trying to get my head around the deliverability of the capital program versus the capital budget. I know we got some advice on it, but I need someone to convince me that we're not overcharging for the capital program.
We'll get Paul to answer that question, if you don't mind.
So yeah, from a capital program point of view, if we just look at the primary driver of growth, that equates to about between 6 and 10% of the total program.
Yep. So
growth component is largely 6 to 10% of the program, varies a little bit each year, but on average somewhere between about 9% overall, but somewhere between 6 and 10 each year. I mean, if you look at the carry forwards from the 2025 year we've just finished, the carry forward for the projects with primary driver growth was $1.3 million at a total of 558 million of the program. So it's a very small percentage of the total program that's actually growth related.
But so on that basis though, if you extrapolate that over the 10 years, there's still a portion of revenue we're collecting through these charges that we're not delivering.
But we have to deliver it at some point in time, because if we're going to support growth at some point, we've got to deliver it.
But we cannot deliver it.
But it's not about us always, also it's the developer, because we are not going to pay for development if the developer's not ready for the work to be done.
Yep.
So it's both sides. It's not
And we-
just us.
Like, and it's, I mean, and it's probably a good pre-warning for F&P next week, is because, you know, we've got a $70 million underspend this year in the capital program. I accept your point, there's a wee bit of growth, but logically to me, there is still some charge in that whole charge of DCs that we're charging that we're not delivering. Because council have said, you put on budget whatever you want for your capital program, as long as you can deliver it, we're up for paying for it. We haven't been able to deliver it.
What I'm saying is only a very small percentage of that is growth related.
2% based on last year.
Yeah.
0.2. 0.2%.
But in a
So why
quantum, it's over $1 million that in theory we are charging
But it will.
just on this year. But it won't, that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify though?
But on that basis, we could say that there's, you know, $10 million of growth every year that we're not delivering, but still charge for it, because at some point in the future, we will deliver it.
No, if it's growth related, it will be delivered.
Because it has to, because it's like making a pipe bigger so that you've got enough water flowing. So that's the pipe.
Do they go through the carry forwards usually, don't they?
Yes.
They carry forward to the next year.
Yeah, so of that
Not
1.3,
quantitative, undeliverable, or 1.3 per year.
I think it's right.
so yeah, of that 1.3 that was the net carry forward from 25, we carried forward 18.4, but we brought back 17.1. It's a timing issue constantly of these projects going faster or slower depending on where the projects are at, both at a developer end and the council end. It's not just one area.
Sometimes you know there's going to be growth, but it's in 10 years' time. You still have to do it in 10 years.
By
You have to pay
definition,
for it.
that's an overcharge.
Okay.
It has to be.
No, it's not an overcharge, it's just
Like
slight.
building up a retirement fund, you're building up that fund.
Discussion, we're not anywhere at the moment. Yeah. Aaron.
So a couple of questions. First is, because it was raised with me by someone doing a property, can we charge DCs in a different way rather than an upfront charge, load the DC onto that property into their rates for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that kind of thing? Because otherwise the person buying the property is going to pay $28,000 up front, load that on their mortgage, and then be paying it, and we're not delivering on that stuff, whereas we would be getting that money over the 10 years where we might actually be delivering it.
The other thing just to note about what impact DCs have on house prices, Auckland Council did quite a lot of work on this a couple of years ago. And what we found is it doesn't necessarily impact the house price, like when it's sold, it impacts the price that the developer pays for the land. So that's also reflected in the Department of Internal Affairs advice to the Minister for Development levies, is where they'll likely see that impact is on the price that developers are paying for land that they will develop.
No, they have to pass that, and they work in a market unless they're a philanthropist developer that's giving houses away.
You know,
They have to work in a market where if something goes up by $50,000, they have to charge $50,000.
The cost gets passed on.
It has to be
The house
passed on.
price has gone up way more than the cost of DCs over time. Like it's supply and
Yeah,
demand.
health and
is the
safety.
key thing. No, supply and demand and people flicking on houses.
Sarah, we're not an expert in everything.
Okay, so then the other one is, because we have to, like, on the justifiable charges, when I look at, so someone sent me through a breakdown of what we're charging out in our way. And the water supply, wastewater collection, that'll make sense, that's $5,000. But the other ones, there's $1,000 for active transport, and there's $560 for public transport, but none of that changes in the area, so why?
Know about it.
Public transport are based on serviceable catchments, so the transport team determine what is considered serviceable within the district. And then it's charged a district-wide catchment on the basis that everyone benefits from that infrastructure.
That's right.
So it's an ideological thing rather than
That is a reality because the costs again.
Well, no one at Clear Water walks 2.5 kilometres to the bus stop, to be honest, and they certainly don't want a bus running through there.
It's only reality of
We just provide the.
Thank you for
April.
I'm loving this. Melanie.
It's just, there's a lot of.
So
grants, like
following up
Christchurch,
from
part of the
Sam's question, can you tell us any projects that have growth associated with them that DCs have been collected for that have never been delivered?
No, sorry.
I want to move the staff recommendation, please.
And I'll second it.
He's going to second it.
Aaron seconded
Whereas
it.
we've just moved and seconded something. Was it start with?
Or you can just go through and amend their one. I mean, it's the same thing, so, yeah.
As we were told to stop doing that while staff were.
It's in.
This is going to be an exciting.
Oh,
I can't wait.
wait till the next one.
Phil, some of us would like to make housing cheaper and others would like to make it unaffordable.
Some of us would like to make rates cheaper.
Yeah.
Hey, well, there's a first for everything, isn't there?
Subsidies.
Here we go.
There's a headline.
Aaron wants higher rates.
Whatever we do, can we just show respect to staff?
No, because that one had been moved.
Yeah.
It's not up there. There's nothing up there that says moved and seconded.
There's nothing in public that indicated any seconder.
If you want to put theirs first, we'll just vote it down.
Yeah, fine. It's democracy.
So we.
Because we didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
Well, yeah, it's fine if Central Ward Council is very keen to increase their seats. Go for gold.
Yeah,
Take
big rates cheaper.
Take the first one, we'll take Jake's is the motion in your full shirt.
Well, I'll just amend theirs.
Yeah, amendments are easier.
So someone.
Okay, so at the moment, Jake, which is the next one, but you've done what you're doing.
Sorry.
You had your hand up for a question.
Oh, yeah, I did sort of have a question.
You sort of ruined it by doing yeah, carry on. What would you like to say?
Ask.
Sorry, just to clarify, we don't have the wording yet for Sam's, once staff do the numbers, but say we discount at 30% or we take 20% again. So who is it that pays that difference?
Well, if it's not collected through development contributions, it's paid by the road.
Sarah.
Thank you. The bit that I'm struggling with is understanding the capacity within the infrastructure in Central City. So if our Central City population is woefully below where we want it to be and where we're planning it to be, and we have invested millions in the Central City infrastructure post-earthquake, but with a reasonably long 50 to 100 year design life. Help me understand then, what are the growth infrastructure projects that are required in the Central City that the developers are going to have to be paying for over the next 10 years? I mean, what's in the pipeline, excuse the puns, but what are the size of our pipes? Do we need to make them bigger? Or if we're already planning for however many in the Central City, we've already put them in. That's the piece that I can't quite get.
Agree to an annual plan.
Okay, we did.
What are the growth infrastructure projects within the Central City that these developers will be having to pay for?
So there are a range of projects. The catchments are not necessarily specific to the Central City because the catchments reflect how development benefits from infrastructure. So for example, with wastewater, we only have one wastewater treatment plant. So it all ends up in the same place. So capacity infrastructure is part of a capacity puzzle. So something you do in Maryvale will impact a development capacity in Lake Linwood, for example. So in terms of the water catchments, that's why they are bigger, because we have an integrated network and demand isn't necessarily specific to a specific area. And then with our amenity infrastructure, that reflects the communities of interest, I suppose, and how communities use infrastructure. So there are projects that are specifically in the Central City, like Central City active travel or cycleways, but they are charged at a district-wide catchment on the basis that everyone benefits from them. And then we also have infrastructure that might be maybe located outside of the central city, but the pipe runs through the central city, and so central city development does benefit from it. Just to the point on how we are our goals for the central city, that's different to how we assess all demand. So even though we have a goal of 20,000 people in the central city, that's not actually the level of current demand. So we're at or past pre-earthquake population levels in the central city. So any additional development that occurs in the central city to increase the resident population, that's actual growth and puts demand on our network, and therefore appropriately is being charged a development. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tyrone, you out in somewhere, mate?
Hello, yep, just a question. So it's just about Akaroa. So just to confirm, it will the proposed policy will make it cheaper to build a house in Akaroa. I mean, it's still really expensive, but it will reduce that cost. Is that correct?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that. So Akaroa, the DCs in the 2021 policy is primarily driven by the wastewater treatment plant out there. And while that project is still in the policy, there has been some changes to the growth projections in Akaroa Harbour. And because they have gone up slightly, but there's very little growth out that way, the DC charges have gone down. So they've gone down from 68 to 44. It's really just a result of changes in growth projections.
So it's still frighteningly expensive, but not,
Yes.
slightly less horrendous. Thank you.
But that reflects the cost for council to deliver growth infrastructure.
Yeah, no, I get that. Thank you.
You?
Well, we've got the staff recommendations being moved and seconded. Amendment to the staff recommendation. Amendment to that motion has been moved and seconded, although we are just waiting for. So it's number 3, which I think the team are putting up first, which is about the 20 years. We're just waiting for the team to do the figures out there to identify what percentage it would be, if it was a percentage.
It's for the setting of the new charges. Yeah.
So we want 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes, 8 minutes, something.
That will give the team a chance to get the.
Do morning tea, which is.
Is it still going with the Uber?
would you like to explain the state of the play of where we are at the moment, please?
Right, so at the moment, we have the motion has been moved by Melanie and seconded by Jake, which is the staff recommendations. And then we had amendment that was moved by Sam and seconded by Eric, which is amending just recommendation 3 or proposal number 3 with what's in red. So that's with the life, or do you want to speak to it, or shall I just?
Yeah, I mean,
Just read it out, it's
Yeah.
quite small.
so in essence, it's effectively the moving the 10-year policy credit to the 20-year. So we heard that through the submissions was that it was initially set up, 10-year limit was in 2006 from the working group with developers, with council, with everyone. Then it worked through, it hasn't necessarily taken into account the earthquakes and the impact of that. So 20 years will allow that to happen.
No, just be clear, it's not 20 years more.
No,
20 years.
no, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
So
completely.
to 2031.
From wherever it started.
Yeah, if the development was from that date, the site was cleared or didn't exert demand from that date.
Anything from now also gets 20.
Yes.
It's in entirety, it's 20 years.
Yeah.
That's the key.
It started, it's 20
Yeah,
years.
but the thing that came through though, through the feedback was, it was only literally, this wouldn't have occurred except for the earthquake. So it doesn't really happen in other cities because the buildings tend to stay and they draw on the infrastructure. And the other one is just around, so effectively that's the first one's, the final one, it looks weird, but it's just based on, I couldn't get the previous charge plus 10% added in, so I've had to work it back from the current proposal, which is effectively saying now that will increase the central city charges by about 10%, or probably just over 10% from what they are now, to encourage that continued investment.
We can't be precise about that.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time, so that's why it's said.
It's a work back.
30% is close.
Yeah.
30% of what's in the draft policy is.
Okay. So, it's been on
The
this, on the amendment, okay?
So we are, yeah.
Sarah first, please.
Thanks. I'm just wondering, especially with that last one, do we have enough information sort of on the impact on DCs and on rates to be able to make a decision on that today? Because we've been told we can't get the advice.
We can't get the advice, we couldn't get the advice of what the 10% would be. This is close to, did we manage, we didn't manage to work out the exact amount of impact that would have on income and the impact on rates.
Yeah, but so we don't have, yeah. So do we have then enough information, because we don't know the impact on rates that would have? Do we have enough information to make a decision on that? Is it in order?
Well,
I guess the question.
The other side of it is that if we were to proceed with the increase.
Sorry, Sam, it was just a process question.
For staff as well, I believe.
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
No, it was just a process.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking me.
Can you ask some other questions and we'll just consider this one?
Yeah.
We just need to know get an idea about the quantum of money we're talking about. Because if we know roughly, it's a big quantum of money that we're unsure of, we would have to say we have sufficient information to make that.
So, but then but we hadn't modelled in the report the reduction in development in the central city based off the increases in the charges either. So.
No, I've got a question then for you. Would you be all right looking at this on another occasion when we do have those facts and figures before us?
Do you mean in terms of delaying the whole paper, or?
No, we would pass the policy as it's been moved in second, but any 20-year rebate scheme could be looked at on another occasion.
But this isn't a rebate scheme, it's a policy change, which is what came through in the feedback when we went and did the consultation.
So no, you don't want to look at.
Well, the rebate scheme will be redundant if this policy change comes in, so we won't need to do the next paper.
But I don't have information on what that would look like.
Okay. The 20-year thing.
No,
Oh, Jake's talking about the 20 years. Yeah.
So credits are
I
not
was
a
looking
rebate.
at both, but yeah.
Foregone, Melanie.
So with E, that means what happens to that 70% of development contributions that then would not be paid?
the question to me.
Or whoever can answer it, if anyone can answer.
The
it,
same
that'd be
question
nice.
as Sarah's,
Yeah,
really.
the same question's been answered before. If it's not
The rate
recovered by development contributions, it's recovered by rates.
Okay.
And so Sarah's asked what that rate impact is.
Understand it loud and clear.
You don't want to lose sight of is if you encourage it by having the lower DC increase, it gets someone to build something instead of it being an empty paddock or a gravel pit, for whatever word. It gets a building built there, and instead of just paying rates on a bit of shingle, you're paying rates on a five-story
And
building.
this is more than what we're charging now.
Except that we don't have any evidence, and we didn't when we, in the last term when the DC thing expired, there was no evidence to say that that actually made a difference to the development decisions. Developers came and did that, it did because they quite like having less to pay. There was no evidence that showed that people made their decision on whether to develop or not based on it.
It would be economics 101, wouldn't it?
No, economic 101 is like, we would love to lower costs, but it wasn't the defining thing on whether.
Economics 101.
Sorry, I have my second question. This one's for Sam. So why have you chosen the central catchment as opposed to any?
Not changing anything.
Charges.
It's a used to be.
Like the CBD.
Populate CBD. That's the bit
Policy basically does that for greenfield.
8,000 people.
Built in halls or not.
We've got a goal of 20,000 and we're at 9.5 now.
101.
You're living in the middle of town. Okay, Tyler had the next discussion.
Yeah, just for Sammy. Do we have to have both of those or could you have one or the other? So for example, could it be split? Would it have to be a combo? The 20 years and the Huey?
20 and the Huey.
And the-
and E, you mean?
Yeah.
No, you could definitely support like A, B, C, D and then not support E.
Got you.
You know, they're only amendments to the policy. So if they don't fly, the policy will just be voted on in totality. But if they do fly, they'll just get amended into the policy to be voted on.
So in order for the greatest impact, you'd obviously prefer both, but.
And I guess that
it's
last
still
one,
feasible.
probably just to note, the last one does impact Riccarton border with this one.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Tyler, Pauline?
Well, so-
Sarah.
I think it's a question, it could be Sam, it could be staff. So the last one, have you isolated the central catchment then?
Yes.
Right, you have.
Yep, not the whole city.
Okay.
Yep, just the
I
central
wondered
city.
if that was possible.
Yeah.
Is
yeah,
that
it was-
possible when a lot, some of the DCs fly across the whole city?
To be clear, there is no central city catchment. For the water,
Start there.
for the waters, the catchments are urban. For neighbourhood parks and road network, we have smaller sub-city catchments because we recognise that those services are used more at a neighbourhood level, and central city is split between the central catchment and the east catchment, acknowledging that someone who lives sort of up near Carlton Corner is unlikely to go down and use a park closer to Phillipstown. So if you think about how neighbourhood parks function, we've very much looked at where people are living, where they're most likely to use those services. We went back to what we did for the last rec review, where we said, actually, where do you go shopping? Where is your neighbourhood? So the catchments for neighbourhood parks and road network have been drawn based on that. For road network, we know that a good chunk of trips are less than 6 kilometres. So we've factored that in. And that's why those catchments look like that. For road network, if you had a strict central city catchment, it would almost insinuate that no one ever came to or left the central city and didn't use services outside of the central city. So that's how the catchments have been drawn. And you guys have had those since I think, October. But that's how they look. So it's really, we're looking at neighbourhood parks and road network where those catchments apply.
Don't understand how you can assess E then. Assess a cost for E, what am I missing?
So there is one catchment called Central, and that is the western part of the central city, and it extends up into Carlton Corner kind of area and up to Mirabelle as well, acknowledging that that area of the central city and those areas outside of the central city function as a neighbourhood in terms of how people would use things like parks and roads and access services in those areas.
Can I ask a follow-up question? I can jump in.
No, well, if it's, yeah, sorry, no, I'll do it in order. Sarah, please.
Thanks. I'm just wondering, we were going to make the decision on the policy itself at the same time as the annual plan, and we deferred that decision so we could look at the new consultation pieces. But E is a look at the change of policy, and I'm just wondering, Sam, why you didn't do that at the time, so that we would have had more time to work out what that looked like in the kind of month since we didn't make the first decision, because this is the decision that was going to be made back in June.
So as you'll recall, hopefully the annual plan budget doesn't have an impact on DCs collected this year. So we already have a provision baked in.
Yeah.
So anything that, and I'm sure you remember in time, and as we worked through it, the view was, and we've had this in multiple briefings, any changes would be considered during the next annual plan. It would be foregone revenue in this year.
Yeah.
But my contention is that putting them up will lead to greater foregone revenue than increasing them modestly.
Agree, but I'm just saying that the reason we delayed this paper was because of the new consultation on the remissions.
Correct.
And so I'm just wondering why you didn't raise this particular point at the time, so it could have been worked on and we would have had the information to make the decision.
Why would it change?
Oh, no, just so that we'd actually have some
What's
information.
fundamentally changing today? I'm missing your
Having the
point.
information
because
that
the information's baked in already, and there'll be foregone revenue for this year, but it doesn't have the impact that I think you're suggesting it does.
Well, the thing is, I don't know the impact. That's the point.
But that's the whole point. We've worked through, unless I've not been listening in the last 3 workshops, there's a budgeted provision for DCs this year. Any changes would be worked through in the next annual plan. There would be potential foregone revenue that we're under collecting or over collecting. My contention is that we would be under collecting because we're putting the charges up.
Andre.
Thank you. Yeah, capping the central catchment, is it capping all of the DCs in the central catchment or just the DCs where there is a central catchment? So.
It's the, so there's a table in the second advice. Is the, the 20.
Yes, I've got the table in front of me. So there's a central catchment for some things, road network and so on. But there isn't a central catchment for stormwater infrastructure, for example. That's just the same citywide. So I'm trying to figure out if this caps all of those DC charges or just the ones where there is a central catchment, if that makes sense.
So the team can probably talk to that.
I think where I will start is taking it back a step to what we were just talking about with those catchments where the central city is between those two catchments. I think if you are capping charges for those activities in those catchments, you need to realise that that cap will extend beyond the central city because there is no central city catchment. It is acknowledging that wider areas outside of the central city interact with those areas in the central city from the context of neighbourhood parks and road network.
Yeah.
So that's quite important. On the other one, I'm sure, but we might be best off that one.
Yeah, correct. Because I'm just not 100% clear on what this does and
Only the cabins.
You all good? Good to you? Okay.
No.
The way
I don't think anyone is.
resolution is worded as that would capture all properties in the central catchment. So that is beyond just the central city, and it doesn't include all properties in the central city because the central city catchment or the central catchment goes through.
It's Manchester and then up to basically Carlton Corner, Mirabelle, acknowledging that those western parts of the central city identify as being in a community with those other areas, and the southeast is quite different.
And then just trying to figure out, is it capping all DC charges or just the ones that have a central catchment within them?
So all activities or properties in the central catchment is the way that.
All activities, yep, so all of them, stormwater.
Yes,
that's
properties, not just the central.
Gotcha, nice one, thank you very much.
Okay, Melanie.
I forgot what it was. The same question
Oh,
you
that's
just
okay.
asked. Yeah. Doesn't make any sense, basically. Yeah.
Tyler.
So just to be clear, you did talk about there not being a catchment, but predominantly of benefit. For example, the central catchment could go at 30%, but the the suburbs that are surrounding that catchment could also be benefiting from the development contributions. Is that what I'm hearing?
So.
Anything that's connected within that.
Anything that is within that central catchment, which extends beyond the 4 Abs, would benefit from that cap.
Except for the water pipes, which could be connected across catchments.
Just in the central catchment, so the thing I suppose to note with development contributions, like we've set catchment, but some projects benefit multiple catchments. So that they would be still benefiting from that infrastructure, even if they were paying a slightly different development contribution charge than some of us who are also paying for that project.
Okay, yep. That's fine. I was just thinking now from a more equitable standpoint. We have Riccarton included, Papanui included, but the main fundamental basis for a lot of this is actually trying to fill in between the 4 Abs. From an equity standpoint, does this look like it's fair in comparison to the rest of the catchments that we see?
This decision is within your discretion.
It's not about being fair.
Good answer.
It's about incentivising central city, I think.
Not the central city though. That's the problem.
I'm only trying to come at it from a commercial feasibility standpoint. The central catchment is highly feasible from Riccarton Road, even within the 4 Abs, all the way up to Cranford Street. It's pretty much prime for development.
And that was one of the things we considered when we drew the catchments as well, where are those intensification areas.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, but Yanni's next. Yanni, and cyberspace?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just it would be helpful if staff could just email around the amendments because it's hard to see them all on the screen, although we do have them up now. But just in terms of E, I'm still trying to understand like what the impact of that would be for the other areas. So if you reduce the DC's charge to 30%, so that in Appendix 1, does that mean the others go up to offset it? Or I think what the response has been so far is rates have to increase to cover that extra cost. But can we just get clarity?
So it's no.
So the impact would be on rates. So it won't affect the DCs elsewhere won't go up because of that.
Just
right.
Less through
so
DC.
What's the rates impact of the 70% of the central city
We can't provide
catchment
that today.
not being charged?
Don't have that information today, sorry.
Okay, so how can we vote on something when we don't know the financial impact?
It's already been under discussion and we're coming back with some advice about that. It's already
Okay.
been asked.
Okay, so we are going to get some advice on that. Okay.
Yeah, we're just we're going to have a 5-minute break after debate.
After the last question, or after debate? We'll do
Or
debate.
before debate. Yeah.
Do you think 5 minutes will be long enough to get that info? It
And
sounds like a
deciding whether you have sufficient information to vote on
Okay.
that one or not.
Okay, so we've now finished. Sorry,
and
Yanni.
sorry, just just under the 20-year credit expiry. I know the staff have sent us a list of buildings previously. What do you have? Sorry, I just can't locate it. But can you just give us a sense of the financial impact of changing it from 10 to 20 in terms of how many developments that would qualify for that at the moment and what the financial impact would be?
And the advice that came out, isn't it?
Yes, it's a new advice and it's taken from what we knew from the rebate schemes.
Yes, so we basically just assumed, so we know the value of expired credits in the central city. We don't know the value of expired credits throughout the district. We've set it at 40 million. Given that it's 30 million in the central city, there might be maybe 10 elsewhere, but we don't know that for certain.
It's a bit hard to hear you.
The financial implications for the remove
I couldn't hear that. Sorry. The financial implications of the amendment on 3.3.1 are what?
No, the projected DC revenue in our current annual plan is based on our 2021 policy. When we do annual plan 26-27, we'll use as this gets adopted, we'll use the 25 DC policy to set projected revenue. And then we'll can build in a projected loss of revenue due to providing an extension of the credits.
But if under the current policy we pass this, what is the financial impact going from 10 to 20?
So, Councillor Hanson, you'll know from the briefings you've had and the other time we discussed this, there's a lot of DC policies, projections and assumptions, so we can't give a precise dollar amount on it. So Ellen has just said that she's estimating $10 million possibly over the life of the policy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the
Yeah.
ballpark. Appreciate that. Yeah, cool.
Okay, so that's, wait, sorry, Celeste, didn't see you.
Just a quick one. Have we had any feedback supporting this particular option?
We had feedback on the draft policy on the life of credits and the charges. So we, that's in the memo that was circulated earlier this week. What the Scotland feedback was. Not on the actual cap. Not on the specific check cap, just on the charges more generally.
So some of the submitters, did some of the submitters speak to extending the
Submitters who said the charges were too high, so
time period?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Questions are done, so we're gonna have 5 minutes to just do whatever.
So in the 5 minutes is just going to take to just clarify if there's sufficient information to or not.
Tell
Right.
us the latest.
So, just, our advice is that, well, my advice is that I don't think you have sufficient information to put in. Because, one, we didn't have substantial submissions about it. We didn't get this in advance, so we weren't able to provide advice overnight. And, well, a lot of the DC's policy is based on assumptions. We can't even report that at this stage. So it cannot be put today. We would need more time. The rest of them are fine. The rest of them are fine in that we had submissions, both oral and written submissions as well. And we have provided you with some additional advice on the impact. So A, B, C, and D. So it's just E that we don't.
Cool.
Sam?
Yeah, so certainly we probably can't get the financial information today. We have had feedback on the increase in the central city. So I would just, and I might need some advice from the team as around how we move referring this paper to the F&P next week to give the staff time to get information so that we can consider it ahead at next Wednesday. So I just need, I don't know if it's a procedural motion or how we do that. But we need the information.
Procedural, if whoever hasn't already moved and seconded.
First time something.
So it would be a procedural motion for anyone that hasn't already moved and seconded.
So anyone to vote against the draft.
Yes, neither can Mel or Jake.
Phil might move to.
I think he might, yeah.
I'll see that until taking that.
That's to defer.
So clear, that just for E or the whole thing? The whole thing till,
Get to do the whole thing.
Yep.
okay, till next Wednesday.
To finance and performance next year.
And then we'll have the information to make a decision on E.
The key is the information to whether you agree or not.
Ellen, can you survive another one of these?
Sorry.
It has to be the
Just need to check.
correct information, whether he wants it or not is irrelevant.
Alan, don't panic.
And so
Amendments on the
So
day.
the procedural motion has to go first, does it?
Yeah, it does. No debate.
There's no debate on it.
I just
So,
need to.
so everybody, are you all?
Is everyone clear of what Mary's saying here?
So the procedure motion is put first and there's no debate on it. So
Okay, and the
procedural
procedural
motion
motion is to,
To defer
Correct.
the DC,
F&P.
decision on the DC policy to F&P committee.
And the other paper as well.
No.
Oh.
So I think you would have to defer the rebates.
yeah,
So you're gonna rewrite your debate.
This goes through, if this passes, you don't need the rebate.
Yeah.
yeah, so
One there.
seven and 8 together are deferred till next Wednesday.
So is that your motion and Tim's second?
I've got a debate.
So we put it, all those in favour of the procedural motion by Timothy and
Vision.
Or a good decision when it's made.
you're trying line.
So we put 7.
It's really good.
7 and 8, but I guess.
Yeah, me too.
Does it,
Go, it's firing. It's actually getting emotion.
So just to be clear, sorry, Sam, is you have sufficient information to move everything else if you wanted to, you just don't have E. So this is about if you want to consider E, you would need to defer.
do we need a 75% majority?
Well, you know, this is the whole thing.
It can't be, put, you only want to delay if you're keen on E. You're keen on E, you delay.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't want to hand out.
Well, are we debating it now? Because if we're just waiting for
Debate.
We need data, Jenny.
the information.
It's just chucking it into next Wednesday's meeting. I'm going to move and send it.
Enough already.
Are we doing division?
There we are, someone's
About 27 eyes.
Well, so
someone's asked for it.
someone's asked.
Yeah.
And Sam,
It'll be the same result next week.
Chair it out to vote at discretion.
So to defer the item.
so this is both items.
This is items 7 and 8, the policy and the rebate schemes. Councillor Peters.
Yes.
Councillor Fields,
No.
Councillor Harrison Hunt,
Yes.
Councillor Coker.
No.
Councillor Donovan, Deputy Mayor Cotter. Councillor Henstock,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Goff is absent, Councillor Johansson,
No.
Councillor Kewen,
Yes.
Councillor MacDonald,
Yes.
Councillor Barber,
Yes.
Councillor McClellan.
No.
Councillor Scandrett,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yeah.
Councillor Templeton.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
That was a
10,
hot
12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I was looking at you for the same answer.
Thank you very much. That's carried. See you next Wednesday.
Are we doing the closing character now or?
After I see.
Oh,
Don't bring the meeting forward by a day.
We'll put it back by a day.
Right, we'll sap on to. Righto, we'll go back to the water one. I don't know. Okay, water service delivery plan adoption was a hell of a lot of work done on this for a long time. I'm very happy with it. Everyone maybe should be.
I'll move that.
You have to second it. Yeah. Sam moved. Yeah.
Sam. Can you just wait this time?
Councillor Peters.
Yeah. Mark seconds. Any discussion, any debate?
I mean, I haven't got my debate, I can't find it, but can I speak to it just look, this is an incredible piece of work. It's massive. Now I've got to talk. And when you go into the actual plan itself, I think it's 500 pages or something. We're in debate, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're in debate. There were no questions.
No.
I can weave one into my debate. I mean, obviously, this is a massive undertaking for our council, and I can only imagine what it's cost us. And also, I believe we're going to need to submit the services plan every 5 years as well. That'll be another. But I think this is a huge piece of work. The detail that we have over our assets and the way we deliver water and our infrastructure is absolutely incredible. We've got all the information that the government needs, I believe, for them to allow us to adopt this plan and the way we deliver our water, local water done well. So I'm hoping that, I'm assuming that the government has to agree to this with us, and then so that's the questions through my debate, and I'm pretty sure I'm right there. Look, I'm not going to labour this because I know we've used a lot of time up already this morning, but I do want to just to say and reiterate how impressed I am with this report and this whole plan. So thank you for it. Must have been a huge amount of work to get this together. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, the effort that's gone is outstanding. Yanni Vincent. Yanni?
Thank you. I too just wanted to quickly acknowledge the huge amount of work that the council staff and the organisation have done. Here's a really good example of governments creating inefficient, more bureaucratic layers of local democracy that mean that we end up spending a whole bunch of money, doing a whole bunch of work, taking away from actually doing things that make a difference in communities just to satisfy the political whim of central government. So hopefully if there's a move to slash red tape, this can be held up. The whole water reforms can be held up as an example of what not to do. So I just wanted to acknowledge the huge amount of work that our staff have done. You know, our city, on top of the earthquake, we've had extraordinary challenges around our infrastructure. And so the more central government can do to support us, not hinder us, the better. And I continue to look forward to the day that central government announce the exemption process to remove chlorine out of our water. The sooner they do that, the better, the more we can focus on repairing the pipes rather than having to put in a whole bunch of new equipment. So, but thanks to staff for the work that they've done. Yeah, I do commend them and just acknowledge the huge impact that this has had over nearly 5 years on our organisation. we're shifting goalposts every step of the way. Thank you to staff for the work they've done.
Yep, thank you, mate. That's very good point. Sarah, please.
Again, thanks so much to staff who have put in an enormous amount of work over what's relatively a short period of time on this one. And I'm torn a little bit. So the reality is the reason that councils across the country have to do their water service delivery plans is because councils across the country, Christchurch City included, have for years not done the work that we are supposed to have done on our water networks. And so we have an enormous backlog. Do I like the way the government have gone about doing this? Not particularly. But the reality is this will start holding us to account more to our residents for improving the water infrastructure in our city and making sure that we are, you know, renewing our pipes, that we're fixing what we should be, and that we're providing a really good service to our communities to deliver safe drinking water and improving that over time. Thanks.
Sam?
Yeah, I think this is a very significant day for Christchurch in terms of demonstrating what we said we would do when you know, this process kicked off in terms of the Three Waters tried to be taken off councils. And this demonstrates what we knew all along, which is councils know how to run their water infrastructure, and that having some guardrails in place actually for something like Christchurch is helpful but not required. But for the smaller councils across the country is really useful. So I think this is fantastic in terms of us validating what we have all been saying for so long, which is we know how to manage our water. I agree with, I think it was Yanni in the previous thing about, or then it might have been this one around chlorine and getting that removed out of the water. But fundamentally, this just demonstrates that councils know how to do it. We should never lose sight of the synergy we have most of the time between our water department and our transport or our other functions within council that can deliver stuff in an efficient way. So, you know, I think if you look at what we spend in Three Waters every year, we'll continue to do that. The trick has always been deliverability, and that will not go away as a country unless we get on top of some of the regulation that sits around it. But this just validates what we've said all along, which is Christchurch knows how to manage its water. Christchurch has a good network that we continue to invest in, and we should be really proud of that.
Thank you, yeah, like everyone else, thank you so much to the staff. It's an excellent bit of work. It is an example, and it would be good if ratepayers kind of looked at it, and when the government sits there and talks about red tape and councils and red tape, you know, this is a really good example of more red tape. The one thing that really does kind of get to me is those smaller councils that are really needing the support, which this is meant to be doing, have really well been kind of ignored. And they've concentrated on the bigger councils, and we were ahead of the game anyway, and they changed standards, and to change a standard you suddenly have to catch up. Didn't affect the fact that no one has ever got ill from our water. They just changed the standards, not forgetting that it started at Havelock North, who then got a handout of $50 million. No one went to prison for the 5 people that died or the insufficient work that was done there leading up to the disaster that started all of this. But I have to say to our staff, thank you. We are in a better place as a city. That can only be a good thing. I don't agree the way that the government, or central government, sorry, it's a whole lot of them, have done this. And I'm sure the smaller councils will be hoping that it's more focused on them for financial support, because you cannot keep borrowing money when you don't have money. So thank you.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'll just touch on a couple of bits that haven't been touched on. A number of people complained about this and this having to do this in this process and that. But the other alternative was handing over the keys to all our pump stations to go to the Three Waters model. So I think the people of Christchurch will appreciate this one a lot more, keeping it local. And I'll reiterate Tim's point that no one had ever got sick from our reticulated water supply. So the chlorine, which when I was at the DHB and we had the briefing from the person brought in from Australia, not from New Zealand, to run our water system, and she said, you will never get chlorine out of the water
because we believe that chlorine is the safest way to deliver water. And even though our medical officer of health said no one had ever got sick from our water, we still had to solve a problem that didn't exist. And that costs billions of dollars sometimes, and that's the road we've gone down. So there's aspects of it I disagree with, but I'm glad it's staying within the city's agreement and delivery. So that.
Okay, and I'll have the last bit. Okay, I'd just like to thank Gavin and Mitch and the whole Three Waters team, because it's a lot of sleepless nights and stuff, and getting this stuff across the line, especially when you get hit from government with something from the left, something from the right, well, not left, but out of left field or whatever. And the amount. Geez, I'm good. The amount of work that has gone on is phenomenal, and I'm totally convinced that our Three Waters team is in very good shape. You know, everything we've got, from the deepening the wells to the blue non-return valves on top, the tanks, the pump stations, everything. We do have a few leaks floating around with pipes get older, and we've got to continue to do them. So looking forward to working with them and getting this into the government. So it's going to be good all round. So thank you very much. So with that, I will put this, because we've got to move and see now. I'll put this, all those in favour.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys. Carried.
Thank you very much.
Right, we'll move on to number 9. Decision making for Dearsbury Heritage listing with Ike. We have an apology. Are you seconding it? Right. Sam is happy to move it, and Ray is happy to second it. Do we need any questions? I think we're all pretty good. No debate. Right, I'll put that, all those in favour. Aye. Against, thanks, that's carried. And with the same, you're a no, okay. And with the same speed and efficiency, we will move on to Pigley Golf Course tree removal and planting. Good. You're happy to move it? Yeah. Tyler, happy to move it, and Mark's happy to second it. This is common sense through and through.
Common sense prevails.
I'll put, no questions, no debate. I'll put that, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you, that's carried. And continuing on. Kelly's happy to move item 11, and I'm more than happy, Pauline's happy to second it. This is very good, because we've got to have somewhere to put all our it's not contaminated, it's lightly contaminated soil. It's a great place to put it. So
This also run right through Trans Waste, is it?
no,
It's just us.
It's just us. We get the day. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Millie. Right. Thank you.
Oh, Jacob, so goes
Number 12. Okay. Heathcote Express cycleway. So what do we want to do there?
Right, so Heathcote is just to re-emphasise what's in the report. There are 2 issues we're trying to solve. One is that when the initial detailed traffic resolutions were put through in 2021, it referred to an attachment, and that attachment didn't cover the full length of the cycleway. So part of what we're trying to do is just tidy that up. There's also a little bit of cycleway on the southern side of Martindales that wasn't included, that is included in here. There's a second issue as well, which is that when it was installed, the parking restrictions were incorrectly installed on the western side of Truscott Road, which is where this whole sort of situation has come from. The team have met with the church on a few occasions, like he referred to this morning, and our understanding till this morning was that the church was very focused on parking directly outside the church. So what we heard this morning was very different to what we've heard in the past. Based on that, we've circulated some resolutions. I don't know if they've gone out.
I've got them ready.
You've got them ready. Essentially, we've put up some options for put up some resolutions for option 3, and option 3 essentially tidies up those original resolutions. It then
It will mean that we remove the parking restrictions on the western side of the road. Because that's what the original report should have had, and that's what it should have been laid out as.
That's the railway side of the
On the railway side of the road, so the parking restriction route, other than a little bit at the Martindale's end and a little bit where it narrows outside Dearvol Place. And we'll then work with that community and report back to the community board on any changes to parking outside the church. So that's the resolutions that we've put in this morning, that I think are probably a potential good option for dealing with the issues at the church.
Staff recommendations now.
Yes.
I think we probably are, yes.
Nice guy.
Any questions? Sarah?
Yeah, thanks. Just talking about the small gap outside the church, which was originally put in because of so the capacity for the weddings and funerals, that kind of stuff, for short-term parking there. When I read the report, there were two different things. One was like, we're going to leave it unrestricted. One was like, we'll do 10 minutes. But then the church said they wanted, you know, all of the access if people wanted to attend a service. Where are we at with that?
And that's what the confusion was. So our understanding was they were focused on parking on that side for mobility issues, and what he said this morning was different to that. He seemed to talk about parking on the opposite side as a good middle ground to which we.
So it would be parking on the opposite side instead of having the two parks outside.
That's what we're proposing right now. We haven't done any kind of safety assessment, so I couldn't tell you what it would look like if you have cars parked on both sides of the road in that location. And we would need to do a safety audit to come back to you and say, yes, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. And what's there currently for outside the church? Is there the two parks currently?
There's a box painted there, but there's no resolutions for that. And like I said, there's the incorrectly marked parking restrictions on the opposite side from the church.
Yeah. So there have been a couple of tickets issued recently as well. Do those tickets valid if there was incorrect marking?
So it depends which side of the road they were on. So if they're on the church side of the road, they stand because the traffic resolutions were written, even if the attachment wasn't there. If on the other side, we'll have to look at those. So it's, as of this morning, so like I said, we only looked at this morning, and so we need to go back and follow that up.
So,
sorry, through the chair, councillor, we will follow that up and we will deal with that operationally. We will make sure that's dealt with through Daryl and Clive and the team, and it will just.
Yeah. I can send you through the complaint I had. Yeah. And is the 2-car parking the wee box at the moment, is it limited time or is it open?
They've got no resolutions, so at the moment they're just a place where we're not issuing tickets. It's probably the fairest way.
Okay.
That's why we're suggesting we take the conversation with the church away and we deal with it through the community board as a local issue.
Yeah, okay, no, that would be.
And we resolve the broader resolutions as option 3.
Because it's been part of the cycleway and it's been and cycleway is not a community board delegation. Do we need a resolution up there that says the rest of it can be done through the community board? That's up there.
Thank you. You're up.
So what's the timeline with removing the yellow lines on the western side? Because that was obviously a mistake and that's affecting the community and the church community. So what could that be sped up?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that through the maintenance contract, so we can do that in days and weeks, yeah.
And as I'm not a great aficionado, thank goodness, of funerals and weddings, you'll be talking with the church about time parking with that box, because that's specifically why it's there. So I'd imagine that you'll be talking with them, because having a 10-minute park for a hearse, I mean, it's not really going to work, is it?
Yeah, I mean, we will follow that, but there's been, as you'll see in the reports, some of the community were quite against that parking on that side because of the visibility on the approach to the intersection. So I think there are issues that we need to work through.
Yeah, because what's the alternative to carry a coffin across the road? I mean, I think there's some discussion there, and I look forward to coming to the community board. Cheers. Thank you.
Just checking the community board has the delegation for that decision?
This would close the cycleway.
Yes.
discussion, and then that is a local parking discussion, which is about parking changes, and they do.
All sits in their delegation. That's great. Thank you. I mean, a bit, sorry, just on that, talking about coffins going over across the road, if that was to be, there'd have to be a crossing in the road, which would be a council one, wouldn't it? Still community one.
The parking changes, if they are, will be a community board decision, and if they are a council decision, that would be a part of it.
I'm just trying to avoid that, just so, can we delegate this to the community? That's what I'm trying to do.
I don't think it's about building a crossing, that kind of thing, it's about finding some spaces.
Road's quiet.
Yeah.
She's low, yeah.
The only thing Aaron? Yep.
So I'm happy to move the new staff recommendation.
Sarah's probably happy to second it.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, well, we're moving on. Any debate? No. I'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. That is carried. So
Except to recognise the effort staff and
Yeah,
they can
thanks,
work so
guys.
closely with the community. It's really good.
Yep. Okay, so number 13, Harewood Road traffic signals.
Oh, this will breeze it. This is.
Helen, need to move it? Yeah. Need some amendments.
Yeah, I think Sam had an amendment.
I think it'd be Aaron that has the.
So Aaron?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of questions. So first up, just because it's been raised with me by some of the locals, the number of yellow lines at the intersection. Is it possible to reduce any of those? Is the question.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Do you mean in the approaches?
Yeah.
The intersection, sure. So the reason why the length of no stopping is as it is on either approach, to go from a non-signalised intersection to a signalised intersection has meant that we've had to widen the central median. That means that we can provide a staggered two-way crossing, which makes it safer for pedestrians and also minimises the time that vehicles have to wait there. Because of that, it means that there's not as much space for the to distribute the lanes, and so the lanes are therefore narrow and there's no room for parking there.
And so that makes sense in that. So with the pedestrian crossing, with the staggered thing in the middle, are they stopping midway?
Yes, it's a two-stage crossing.
Okay, why can we not go, I know it's wider than a lot, hence why it's here, I think, finally, but can we not go straight across? Because my fear is, especially the age of the children, the majority are intermediate age, they will get to the middle, then sprint the last bit. That's what's going to happen, because especially boys, that's just how they think. Can we not just not have that and go straight across in one crossing that way? Just time it.
We need to come back to you on that. I think if you did that, you'd have a much longer signal phase for pedestrians, which would mean you'd end up holding traffic for a lot longer. So we need to work out.
That often, it'll be mainly morning and night, well, morning and afternoon, and then they will go across. But just the behaviour of children that, I don't know.
The staggered, the two-phase crossing is standard for a multi-lane road like this.
And we're happy it's working everywhere else.
I haven't heard that it's not working
Not
everywhere
yet, sprinters. Okay, so but if it was that, would we then have less yellow lines? Or would we still have the same yellow line?
If it was just a one-stage
Yeah,
crossing?
yeah, and we didn't widen the median, you just walked straight across.
Exactly. Again, I don't know, because the part of that space is used for where the traffic signals sit. So off the top of our head, we can't stand here and say definitely, but probably yes. But I couldn't say for definite.
Okay, let other questions go. Oh, I'm sorry, I had one other on the other crossing. With the outside the school, can we do we've signed off at our last meeting, the multiple crossings in Horsell using the non-skid surface. Can we use that at outside the school?
Yes.
Instead of the speed hump?
So high friction asphalting is included in this design.
So hang on, so we've got high friction asphalting, a speed hump and lights.
So
It shows how much we value our kids' lives.
I get it.
The safety audit has specifically raised the issue of speed coming off the state highway through this one. So we would have to try and manage speed in some method.
So through the chair.
So
can I
the
just-
lights and
just add-
high friction surface not
Yeah,
do
can I
that.
just add, high friction surfacing is not a traffic calming, as in a speed reduction measure. The speed reduction measure is the platform that actually slows people down. High friction surfacing allows them to stop quicker and safer without skidding. So it is.
Stop killing a kid.
It is coming off a high speed environment, so there is high friction, the asphalt is designed to enable the cars to stop quickly and safely if they need to, but this platform is there to actually bring the speeds down of everybody.
Okay.
And it
because-
is designed for 50 Ks, not 30.
Yeah, so I've gone and looked at some high friction surfaces. They're a different colour and a different
This
texture
one's
to the
not.
rest of the road. So, but other places
Yeah.
do, one's in a different colour, different texture, which makes the brain think I'm in a different environment. Just like it does when it sees the speed hump and everyone looks at the speed hump rather than if there's any kids.
So we have a particular resolution through the annual plan to put the speed in.
Right, so but when can that be taken out if there's a change of resolution, like maybe after the elections?
So there's a resolution in the annual plan. So it would need to come back to revoke that resolution. So it could come back at any stage.
Can I not make an amendment today to 26 to change it into the high friction surface?
It already is.
To go through a revoking. My understanding is that the hump's only a provisional item in the contract at the moment. So it would, if you did revoke the resolution later on, it wouldn't be a major issue.
Except for the school.
You can't revoke it today.
Okay. Right, my question.
Right. Oh, so why are the APA's resolutions then that we're signing off?
The detailed resolutions, I think, to that are the next stage of enacting the resolutions you've made.
Yeah, I understand that, but why are they here as something that's in blue that we vote on if we're not voting on it? It's just foregone conclusion, so then.
That's a good question. We do the detailed traffic resolutions for every thing after a
Yeah,
design's done.
And sometimes they change.
But we did start to try and bring them before the work was done, so that they weren't coming back retrospectively after the thing's constructed.
And sometimes they change. That's my question.
Right, thank you. I think it's pretty clear what we've got to do if we've got to do it. Question from me, that, it says option 1 recommended, which is the 4.4 versus the 3.9. What's, just for everyone out there watching, what's the difference between option 1 and option 2? Is that just the work in Waimakariri Road, or?
No, it extends. So sorry, I'll go back to the annual plan. In the annual plan, it talked about something like associated safety improvements, signals and associated safety improvements. So we've improved the links at Harewood School to the to the estate highway underpass and all the way through to Nunnery Park. So that's what you get in option 1 that you don't get in option 2, is those wider improvements to Nunnery.
Yeah, so from the school round to the underpass, so to
Yes.
speak, that's the 500 grand more.
And from the school down to Nunnery Park as well.
Down to.
Yeah,
There's
so
a-
it's
there's a small
yeah, so it crosses Waldridge, it crosses Stanley's, is it?
There's a crossing at Waldridge and it extends the path down to Stanley's.
Yeah, just to Stanley's,
A
yeah.
metre wide up in the lead up to the school, so it makes it 2
It
metres.
widens the island at Waldridge.
Yeah, right, no, that's right, no, I'm just wondering.
So a bike can fit on it, yeah.
Next one. Right, it's been moved and seconded, no debate.
No, there's no debate.
Sorry, that's all those in favour?
Aye.
We confirm mover and seconder.
Melanie and Tyler. Sorry. Sam.
Okay, now, Stephen. Okay, I'm happy to move this option C. And
What are we up to?
number, I'm happy to move this option C, and the sector is Kelly. Far away.
Good morning, everybody. Afternoon, sorry.
Good evening.
And welcome.
So I'm here with Mansour, our PT engineer. As you know, we did the trial of the Manchester Street bus gates and turning the lamps off to see if there's any impact. We had Abley consultants undertake some data analysis post review of both trials. And that analysis showed that there was a minor benefit for northbound buses in terms of PT reliability and journey time benefits, and only a minor negative impact on general traffic. So in summary, the bus gates make a minor benefit with only a very minor disbenefit to vehicles. So what we're proposing here as our preferred option is adding it in detectors so that the bus gates only operate when there's buses waiting in the bus stops there. So if you need any other info, happy to answer any questions.
We have some questions, Tyler and then Mel.
I know, I was just happy to foreshadow B, but I'm just
So you want to go B, is that right?
the staff
Yeah.
preferential option.
Is that the detectors?
Yep.
How much are the detectors, please? Off the top of your head?
10K.
10K?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Same cost as option C.
But if we go ahead and look at it as a whole thing, there's a very good chance in my head that blimp outside the church could vanish, and that means you won't need the bus pads because the bus will be able to move straight up to the traffic lights and have a green B, so it goes ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, potentially more work would be needed to determine that, but at a high level, if we were to provide PT priority at the actual intersection, as one of the sketches shows, that should provide better PT priority through the whole area. One of the things we would note is that ideally we could doing a whole review of the whole of Manchester Street, and just make sure that we are achieving the best benefits for buses along there that we can, whilst minimising disruptions of general traffic at the same time.
Okay. So in the one that I'm suggesting, option C, even B and C, that covers up the lights. Not.
Option B, that's the.
I just want the lights out.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
that's what I'm aiming towards.
That'd be option C.
C.
Yeah, or they just get covered with a bag and look ugly for a while and see.
Feel free. Because it works. Just to follow on to what Sarah said, cover them up.
Yep.
And then you do the work. And then it could be at a later date, once you've done the work, and say, right, this could come out.
So if you were to go with option C, we would, like you said, bag the signals up, and over a 6-month period, we would do a more detailed trial, work closely with ECAN and other partners, and then as part of that, we could also do some consultation, informal consultation, and then come back to you for a decision. And that decision could be to remove the gate permanently, to keep the gate, or look at the other options that we'd have considered during that time.
Okay. Yep, no, that's fine. But when we had when we had the short time that we had the covers over them, it didn't, according to that report, it didn't really cause any grief because people were letting the buses in anyway. Correct. So for the sake of spending 10 grand each side of the it's good. So Tyler, do you have another question? Yeah, far away, mate.
Hey guys. Quite often we have cars that go through Manchester when there's no buses and there's a red light at the bus gate. With option B, will it be green until the bus is actually approaching?
That's the intention, yeah.
Love it. Sweet. That's just the majority knew that. And the carriageway along all of Manchester Street, the review, could that be included in this resolution here?
It would be, yes.
Great. So it is going to be great. Yeah, just confirming. Great, thank you.
There's multiple resolutions at the start. One of them is, as elected members, locking in that Manchester Street is a PT corridor, and we all recognise it as that. The other one there is to lock in that we want to come back and go on for Manchester Street.
Great. Yeah, there's no argument that it's legally. Yeah, thank you.
Someone's been 20 grand. Right, Aaron.
Yeah, so in the Abley report, did it assess the cost of how much Manchester Street would cost to make all those changes to make it dominated by buses? Like I don't know what they spent it's probably worth 100 million or whatever, Manchester Street. And what did it increase passenger usage by?
The short answer is that. It didn't cover that.
We're still 20% below pre-quake level.
In terms of overall, the passenger numbers are actually up. We're well above our pre-quake figures. Yeah.
Oh, that's not what's on the site, so they must have.
We're significantly up on our.
On the pre-quake numbers.
I can confirm pre-quake numbers, but it's been growing every year for the last 10 years. I know that.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but the numbers are still 20% lower than pre-quake, but it's
Good to get bus routes in areas where housing is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Pauline?
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've got a lot of it.
Okay.
I was just,
Fine.
thinking that was number 6, carry out investigation. I'm just wondering when you're going to do that, and just thinking, would it be better to do that after Te Kaha is open? And because then you're doing it once, it's going to be a whole impact. And I think, we've just gone through all the roadworks on both Barbados and Madras, which had an effect on Manchester as well. If we wait for Te Kaha, then we might have a better picture. So rather than doing it again after that, we know already that putting the bags over will made it better. The detectors will do a very similar thing. So, I think let's just do this investigation later on. What's your view on that?
Through the chair, there would be some merit in that, but at the same time, the options that we would potentially look at would be looking to try and make benefits for buses regardless of the impact of Te Kaha. And by making benefits to buses, the measures that we'd be looking at would actually improve traffic flow for general cars as well. So if traffic flows did change due to Te Kaha, the impact would be the same. It'd be an improvement for them regardless.
So when are you intending to do it?
We'd start it over the next month really, and then hopefully have something to report back to you early in the new calendar year.
So when will you install the detectors when this passes?
Yes.
Immediately?
Probably within a couple of weeks.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So hang on a minute.
Got a mover and a seconder for the staff recommendations.
No, mine's first.
I've got foreshadowed that was
Oh, yeah, Tyler.
moved and seconded for the
So
stuff.
we had the mayor,
Yeah.
first. Yeah. The seconder, and then, the staff recommendations for option B was foreshadowed.
Sorry.
So going forward, just so I'm on the right track, going forward, option B, if the fences are in there, we'll see those lights still there.
We would, but they'd only be stopping vehicles.
That's right, but they will still be there as more graffiti on the road and stuff.
Yes.
Righto, so we've got 2 options on the table. Well, we've got this one.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake.
So
Yep.
can I just note that the change to staff recs for option C is just in 5 and 5A here, so that's what the change is.
All right. So this is to do options. Sorry, Pauline.
No debate, that's right.
Oh, yeah, far away.
Oh,
So I had a question as well.
You want to go first or just last? First.
So this is the only reason I want option C, if this is debating. The only reason I want option C, I cannot understand for a minute it's going to take $3,000 to disconnect and cover up the lanterns. The system worked very well for 3 weeks. I actually went on Facebook and said to people, if you want these bus gates out of here, let the bus in. And it seemed, in my view, the odd time that I went down there, it did work. And that if people have got if they can actually be nice to bus drivers, I know it's like being a truck driver, not being able to get them. Bus drivers, let them in, and everyone on the streets is happy. So I can't see any sense spending $10,000 to put in the implement the detection stuff when it worked all right before. I just want to see, if possible, in the long run, the blimps outside, once transport come back to us, the blimps outside the church gone, and the traffic lights in the middle of the road missing altogether, because it makes it far easier for people to get up and down the road. People you talk, not a lot of people talk to, but the people I do talk to, they say that they avoid Manchester Street, they avoid the city because of Manchester Street. I want to make it easy for people walking, cycling, busing, whatever, to have a good experience to come into town. Manchester Street is, in my view, an absolute shambles. Whether the buses should be on the left-hand side of the road all the way down instead of having to pull out into the centre and then have to go back into the bus stops, it's just what Transport is suggesting and having a look from end to end, and it won't be end-to-end changes, but it will. We've got to look at it, because just because we came up with it after the earthquake and thought it was a good idea then, doesn't necessarily mean to say it's a good idea now, because things change, a la Takaha with more traffic. So that's why I am pushing for option C. Thank you. Pauline.
Thank you, and I respectfully disagree with everything you've said. Look, I think that accessible city was a plan, is a plan, thinking of our future. So I reckon the whole thing was a little bit early. We didn't have the number of buses and the whole, future that we're going to is coming at us. I think we'd be remiss if we looked at taking out the gates and the lights right now. I think to put the detectors in is the solution. Because, I mean, how often have we sat there mystified at a red light, and nothing's happening? And it was pretty bizarre, and people would question, why am I doing this? Why am I sitting here? A detector will solve that. A detector will solve everything. To go ahead and undo what we've done, I think would be wrong. And don't forget that ECAN is really focused on increasing bus numbers and frequency. They're seeing 25% increase in passengers already in the last year. Christchurch will become a city of bus users. It will. Might not be you, it might not be you, but it will be a lot of people. Or it might be you. I don't know.
Haven't you got something else to say?
So I really urge people to vote for the staff recommendation here and vote for the detectives to go in, and we'll get the rest of the survey done and we'll make a decision then. But please support the staff recommendation and not option C that our mayor seems to be favouring for some ridiculous reason. Respectfully.
Tyler, then Sarah, then Tyrone, then Yanni.
No, I'll keep it short. You've got two choices: either put some bags on lights or create better traffic flow for buses and cars and everyday pedestrians. To be honest, this should have been done years ago, having those detectors. For those that every one of us probably would have driven down Manchester Street, and it's an absolute doozy. You're sitting at the lights thinking, what the heck am I doing here? There's no one around. 10 p.m. at night, red light, middle of the bus gate. So I think this will just improve it. And this is just common sense prevailing. And it's a good use of ratepayer money, making sure that traffic's flowing. So I implore for you guys to think pragmatically here and go for the staff recommended option, which is going to be a more long-term use of Manchester Street, particularly after the review that's happening, including the use of Te Kaha and all of those users there. Kia ora.
This one's going to be easy. Sarah?
Kia ora. We've still got, for all that we've got a pretty new city, we've still got what is basically a, 1970s transport system with basic traffic lights and, boxes with bits and pieces in them. Many of them are quite old. This is, amongst other things that we've done in the last sort of decade or so, the start of turning our transport system into a much smarter one. Where if we're starting to put in detectors and all of those kind of things and upgrading infrastructure, we can help traffic flow, we can help pedestrians, help bikes, all of those kind of things. The most loved piece of infrastructure by people who bike around our city are the detectors in the ground ahead of the traffic lights, so that you don't have to stop on your bike and wait. That's smart technology that other cities in our country doing that on our road space and having smarter things like this to enable buses. It just makes sense. In the scheme of things, it's a small amount of money, much smaller, for example, than ripping out a cycleway and turning it into a shared path where there's been no complaints. And yeah, I think it's worth it.
Okay. Tyrone, you there, buddy?
Kia ora. Hello. Thank you. So Manchester Street, I mean, I personally think Manchester Street's an absolute triumph. Like, it's great to bike up and down. It's great for pedestrians, and it has never ever been a street as a thoroughfare. I mean, if you're using it as a thoroughfare, you're either lost, and if it's the reason you don't come into town, I'd suggest you've got bigger problems in your life than Manchester Street. I mean, it's literally famous for slow moving traffic in Christchurch, Manchester Street, and no, I think it's a brilliant street. So I support the staff rec. I mean, it's got Christchurch's most thriving bar on it. It's a haven for pedestrians and people milling around, and I just think it's moving in the right direction, and happy to support
Time's up.
staff rec.
Thank you, Tyrone. That was very good. Yeah, Yanni.
Thank you. Without doubt, we are long overdue for a review of the inaccessible city plan. There has been a lot of development that's happened. A lot of the principles behind it and things that we were told would happen haven't been done. And in the meantime, we're making individual decisions on roads within the 4 Avs that create congestion, create danger, don't make it safer. And actually just the number of times I've seen people going through the central city, turning the wrong way into one ways, turning the wrong ways into a whole bunch of streets where the signage is just, quite frankly, it's just way over the top. It's confusing. And Manchester Street, I think, is a really good example of where things have just been completely over-designed and over-engineered to a point where actually it just creates confusion for people. So I've talked to bus drivers who get delayed on Manchester Street, and we were supposed to have that street as a way to increase the journey time of public transport. Like, yeah, in my view, we shouldn't be spending a cent on Manchester Street. We should actually be waiting for Te Kaha to open. We should be doing a review of what the traffic impacts will be with all the other things that have been done, and then coming up with some better solutions to improve the public transport, the safety, and the driving through the central city. But at the moment, it's a complete shambles. It's a complete mess. I don't support spending any money on this. We need to spend more time reviewing, because you can't just make changes to Manchester Street and then not recognise what impact that has on other streets like Hereford, and Gloucester, and a whole bunch of other ones that we've tinkered around the edges on. So appreciate getting the report, but I just think we should save the money. So I support option A, and hopefully that can tie into the accessible city plan review that I've been told by staff is being done. Thank you.
Done for free?
No option A.
Done for free?
Thank you, Yanni. And Aaron.
So I just want to touch on a couple of points that some of my fellow councillors have celebrated with Manchester, the triumph that is Manchester Street. They must mean a Triumph Herald, because that's something no one wants.
I used to have a Triumph Herald, actually.
Manchester Street, there's an aerial photo here taken midday, and there's literally on 4 corners, 1 person. If that's an inner city triumph anywhere in the world, you're deluded. A blind person could see more people than that in here. There's literally 3 cars on the road, 1 bus, and no people. That's an inner city. That's a failure. If we've spent tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to bring people into the inner city, that photo sells it in a nutshell. And I know I'm a popularist, but a popularist represents the majority view of people across the city, and the majority view of those people by thousands when they is populist. Yeah. My English was never good because I left school young. That's fine. I'm here now. I got here because there was no one left in Harewood to run. So my point is that we've spent all that money to try and bring people to the inner city and have failed. People overwhelmingly on John McDonald's show. Yes, it's John McDonald's show, but he has all the callers on the days that this was raised were just against the design. People of Christchurch, by and large, hate the design of Manchester Street. So if you want to keep celebrating that, at least the polls open in a few weeks and the people of Christchurch will either agree or disagree with you on your celebration of Manchester Street. But it has been a failure. Yanni's right. He's not always right. He's often quite left. But today, he's got his foot in the right camp. So for that, I will be supporting the Mayor's what I'd call pragmatic solution to this and just helping to get the traffic flow along Manchester Street. Because I don't know, I've checked the last few nights lately and there's no reason to drive slowly on Manchester Street anymore. I'll leave it there.
Samuel,
Let's leave that.
and then we'll get into it.
I certainly agree with what Aaron has said, as you would expect. I guess the only point I make is that if the Mayor's one doesn't pass, can we pass Tyler's one because it still keeps traffic flowing? So the Mayor's one obviously doesn't cost, which is good, running the trial out till after the election. But secondly, if it isn't, can we pass that? Because I'd hate to. Yeah, I would hate to
Do nothing.
do nothing and end up back. Because I agree, Manchester Street is a shambles, but let's just not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay, and me lastly, because I moved it. It's good debate, it's good questions. One thing I do worry about, and Sarah brought it up, which is good, about the sensors in some of the bike lanes. Some of those sensors drive people nuts because for some reason they say there's a bike there. The light for people to turn left can't go because it's red, and the bike one is green, but there's no bike. They're not reading it correctly. That just infuriates people. And if the same thing happened with some of these bus ones and it sort of malfunctioned or read something wrong or whatever, that's a bit of a shambles. I'd like to see in some cases the bike one, say down St Afsa Street, for example, have it that the bike person pulls up and actually presses the button, and then you know that there's a bike there and it will go. I'd have no problem with the separated light for the bike, but anyway, that's besides the point. It's not for the fact, just a bit of a yarn. No, what I'm saying is not all senses are equal.
Not all sense.
Right, so I'm putting my one, which I'm thinking may not quite know. Right?
Hey, live in hope.
I'm putting option C. Is that right, Sam?
Shouldn't stop you putting forward.
Yeah.
As on the screen.
Option C. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
No.
That's carried unanimous.
No,
We do the full show of hands is fine. All those in favour of my wonderful option C.
online.
Back.
And Yanni.
Victoria.
He's A.
What does he just?
So he's going to vote against.
Okay, you've got
How many? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4.
Is Tyrone and Yanni voting that way as well?
Can I confirm hands up for against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've got Yanni and Tyrone. So 8.
So that's lost. So now, well,
So then it's a full thing.
does that automatically make that, or we have to vote?
No, we're up to.
Okay, so now we vote for the foreshadowed motion, which is the staff recommendation, which option B. All those in favour of option B, please say aye. Aye. Against? Thank you, that's carried.
Lone voice in the wilderness. No.
See, Yanni.
I just wanted to check something for just because we missed something in the minutes to make sure that in item 9, that was at Mainstreet House, that was 7A, not 7B that was being supported. The movement seconder said that's what that said.
Oh, yes.
We assume that's what to make sure. We've got it in a minute.
That was Sam's intention, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
and
okay, great.
Thank you. So now we will go into public excluded. I'll move it and Pauline will second it. All those in favour? Aye. Against, thanks, that's carried. Give us a couple of minutes. Room.